Town of Sunset Beach. This is April 29. We never did adjourn the prior meeting, so this is just a reconvening of the prior meeting. Okay, and we have a agenda for the items that were not covered under at the April 26th meeting, starting with, you can start with, since it's all Dustin anyway, we can start with whatever he wants to start with.
If I may. If I may, let me tell you what you've received this morning. You have detail for all of the departments that Dustin manages. You haven't, with the exception of the accommodations tax, you haven't seen this detail before. The accommodations tax, which I believe is page 6, you saw the other day when Kevin was here, I'm sorry, that's Powell Bill. Page 7 is the accommodations tax. See down at the bottom, we have detail pages 1 through 8 with today's date on them, so you can keep them straight from what else you've received, the other pages you've received. The accommodations tax has been revised to reflect new information on the jet skis. So we'll go over that when we can go over it first if you'd like, or we can just wait until we get there.
Well, why don't we go over it first, since
Okay.
it's a carryover from
Okay, that's fine.
26th.
What was in the detail you received was $15,000 for a 2017 jet ski. This is the accommodations tax, page 7. Okay, so I've highlighted what got changed, like you had seen when we met earlier for the other, whenever anything's got a revision. I highlight it and then put the date that it was revised. So as a result of all of our conversation the other day on day 2, April 28th, you all directed Kevin to go and revisit the jet ski issue. And so what he has now then returned with is new information. He thinks that he can get the jet ski that he needs for $12,000, not $15,000, and which was what he had predicted before. And that also reduces the maintenance, equipment repair and maintenance, by the extra amount that was put in order to keep up with the repairs on the donated jet skis. So all in all, as a result of your conversation the other day, this budget has been reduced by $10,500. $3,000 on the jet ski and $7,500 on the equipment repair and maintenance. So that's the difference there.
All right, anybody have any question about that? Okay.
You good? And then the other 2 items you've received today are the list that Rich requested.
Oh, hold on, 1 minute.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a little confused here.
Okay. You have a date at the bottom of the page that may be helpful. Anything
I
labeled,
keep looking for a current date, and the last, here, 428, contracts or professional services.
okay, the
These
stapled,
are the sheets we had from
the-
last time. These are the sheets, and my date says 426.
okay, what I gave you this morning is dated 4/29. The sheets that are stapled together. So we were looking,
Yeah, she's
in that
referring-
group, Carol, we were looking at page 7.
Page 7 of that.
Yeah, no, where is the old page 7?
Well,
That's-
it wasn't a page 7 because you received it with other items.
Okay, that's what I could,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
It's in the accommodations tax.
I couldn't,
Yeah,
I
we
just
were-
couldn't flip through that fast enough to find that.
Yeah. If you recall, on Monday, we weren't
Very
going to...
early for Carol.
I hate getting
We-
it this early.
We
He's
weren't
right.
going to talk about the accommodations tax, but then because Kevin wasn't going to be able to be here, I went ahead, printed it out, and gave it to you separate from the other items. You can ditch that, and now we have a revised version.
At the last session. At the
I
last
remember
session.
going over it, now I
it
can't
was-
find it.
It was a separate sheet.
All right.
It wasn't stapled with anything else.
Here it is. It's going to be in one of these. Doesn't matter. So anyway, on this 429, you're saying that this thing went down by,
10,500. Here is, oops,
you see that anywhere on here?
this is what the old one looked like. This is what we discussed on Monday. So what's gone is that 7,500. And
That-
there you go, okay. So that's 7,500 there.
Sorry about that. That's why I couldn't find that one sheet. That's, okay, you can take that back. I'm good, thank you. By the way, Big Belly monitoring software. You know, we're unlikely to be purchasing more of those Big Belly things. That was a lose baby. They're very expensive. We don't know how well they're gonna do in terms of holding up for a number of years. And the monitoring is only so good, you know, really is only effective if every trash can were on this service.
Carol, do you want to wait until, excuse me, do you want to wait until we get to that
Sure.
page? Okay, and then we can discuss it, you know, in its entirety?
I'm sorry, I was looking at that was
That's-
beach patrol and not.
That's under the accommodations tax.
It is. When we get to page 7, we
Oh,
can.
okay, you're just explaining,
I just need to tell you what you have received this morning, and then I'll give it
Okay.
over to Dustin.
okay.
Okay. So you've got the detail pages for Dustin's departments, and you also have the list that Rich requested, which is the actual vendors that we use for contract services and for professional services. And the totals in those two items tie to the total page that you received, the projected budget for fiscal 17. So contract services and professional services, now you have the detail for those two line items that goes across departments. Okay.
This is projected for the fiscal year we're in right now.
Correct, correct. Okay. And then the last thing you've received today is just a printout of something I emailed you 2 weeks ago, also at Rich's request, a list of the non-recurring items that appear in the fiscal 18 budget. And the first page of that, it's on 2 sides. So the first page is the operating items, the non-capital items that are part of the fiscal 18 recommended budget. And then page 2 is a list of the capital items, which by definition, unless it's a capital project, are non-recurring. So you have a number of non-recurring items that that don't rise to the level of capital expenditures because of their nature, and then a list of the capital items. And so the capital items are all one-time purchases that will be added to our fixed assets based on the recommended budget. And one
These
other.
items appear on these sheets?
Yes, what I gave you this morning. The two-sided one that you're looking at, Carol, on page 1,
But all of these items are somewhere in these sheets and identified?
absolutely,
It's
yes.
just an overall compilation.
Yes, it's a summary. And the departments are labeled, so you can go to the detail sheet for that department that you've received to see it in its context for that department.
This was a good one.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, thank you, you're welcome. Yeah, I thought it was useful for me. So the only other thing I want to just mention to you is on Monday night, you're going to receive a number, it's a regular council meeting, we don't have any budget talks scheduled, but I do have a number of things that you will receive so that you have them before Thursday, before our budget meeting on Thursday. Instead of receiving them Thursday, you're going to receive them on Monday.
Good.
And if anybody has any other requests or things that they want, you know, new lists or whatever, you know, that I can comply by Monday night to the extent that time permits. Otherwise, I'll give it to you, you know, I'll still, you'll have it before Thursday. It's just, Monday's going to be a long day as it is. And one of the things that I would suggest, actually based on the emails that Rich and I have traded in the last 2 days, I would suggest that we suspend any talk about the revenue and this hasn't actually been said, the tax rate is the same. This budget, the recommended budget is based on a 16-cent property tax rate and other calculations with other taxes and things that we receive. But any talk about a change in that tax rate, any talk about the revenue, expected revenue, say from the accommodations tax or whatever, if we can reserve that for Thursday instead of doing it this morning, because it's a very big subject, and it may go on past, conceivably, Thursday may not be a long enough time to allot for it, based on some things that probably we need to dig into.
Bonnie, a
It's also based on stuff we don't have any control over.
Correct.
Bonnie, a
Exactly.
question, so I understand the handouts, and thank you for the handouts. I know there's a lot of work. Like, I'm thinking of an item, repair of fire station number 1 roof.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that on here as an item. Now, maybe I just can't read it, but.
Well, it's not. It's
Okay.
not. It's in the capital improvement plan that's proposed for the next 5 years. It is not currently budgeted in this recommended budget. And this is where if you remember, we knew on Monday that we had possibly 300,000 more in revenue coming in than was projected to be spent.
In the
was
present
recommended
tax year.
in the recommended fiscal 18, let me back up a second. The capital improvement plan has a number of capital projects in it that are not currently budgeted. And this is where you figure out how to spend the money that we've got in the fund balance set aside, money in the future development
get it.
fund. So the capital project, the equipment and the vehicles are definitely in the recommended budget. The capital improvement plan has capital projects, equipment, vehicles, and where is it? Yes. All of the vehicles, let's look again at the capital improvement plan, if you can find that document. It's a draft. It's a plan on how to spend money that has accumulated, both in more revenue brought in than spent, that kind of thing, money that's in the fund balance.
And that's the last sheet inside the binder.
Yes, thank you, Pete. Yes, it's the last sheet in the binder. The last time is the revised 419 is the latest, or the most current. So with the exception, let's start in the very top, capital projects, street paving is budgeted because it's part of the POW bill. The beach access the living shoreline is budgeted. Everything else is up for grabs, including the roof replacement on Station 1, Public Works building, land acquisition, the building itself, the Main Street sidewalk. All of those things are decisions that you all will make about how to spend the money that has, in many cases, already been put aside, or could be paid for with a loan, or could be paid for through beach erosion money. Actually, the beach,
You said living shoreline was already in the budget. What else was?
the street paving, because that's part of the PAL bill,
Top item.
top.
Thank you.
Bonnie,
And-
excuse me, what is the living shoreline?
That actually,
You may recall about a month ago, I asked if I could submit for a grant. It is where we would put in grasses, riprap, shell reefs to build up and protect the shoreline. Hence it's called a living shoreline. And the area that we selected was along Mary's Creek, where we've lost quite a bit of shoreline after Hurricane Matthew. And I brought down the Coastal Federation and the county soil and conservation folks to look at it. They said it was a perfect place for this type of project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
great.
Is that on the edge of the park?
Yes, sir.
At the point,
Okay. The next section is technology improvements, the financial software That is budgeted in the finance department budget. All of the vehicles that follow are budgeted. Now, we're only looking at fiscal 18, just that year one of the capital improvement program.
So Bonnie, hypothetically, we take a couple of cars out, a couple of things, that's more revenue that will be in the budget for us to spend on other items, correct?
No, it won't be more revenue, it'll be fewer expenditures.
Expenditure, okay.
You meant
Okay.
there'll be more money.
Money,
We know
Yeah,
what
more
you're.
money, yeah.
more money.
Well, yeah, yes. Okay, and then but at this point, money is not our problem. How to spend it is. I mean, essentially, that's it. We have revenue that, exactly. We have, traditionally what happens is more money comes in than we budgeted for revenue, so we have extra money that way. We spend less than we budgeted, so we have extra money that way. And every year it goes into the fund balance, and now what we have is a super-sized fund balance that nobody else in Brunswick County has, essentially. We have the components of the fund balance. We have 8% that's required by the state. LGC further recommends an additional, whatever, recommends 25%, and for coastal communities, LGC recommends 40%. And what that percentage is you have the money you have the money in your fund balance that is equal to 40% of your expenditures.
Okay, so for years, we were told it was 75%. That was the highly recommended amount for coastal communities.
I'm not aware of that number, but that's fine. We're at 110% now.
I understand.
Yeah, so that's, and municipalities struggle, well, the ones that I'm associated with, struggle to get to the 25%. So,
Is this the discussion we're gonna have Thursday on what we're
Yes.
supposed to do with all of that?
Yes,
We get the
exactly.
information at that point.
yes. Okay, but then just to answer, then going back to sticking on track here, just to answer the question about what's funded in the capital improvement program, all of the vehicles and the equipment that's listed under the fire department and the accommodations tax. There's a blue highlighted group of stormwater drainage equipment, and that was, the reason it's blue highlighted is because it was added, I forgot it on the first one. That is not budgeted because it is part of the stormwater management plan that will need to be discussed in more detail. So the vacuum truck, the camera system, and the street sweeper, if you decide to go forward with the stormwater drainage plan, then those items will need to be purchased in order to fulfill the,
And you said that was budgeted? or
it was not, it is not, no. Nothing regarding the stormwater drainage plan is included in the recommended budget at this point.
All right, just so that if I can and have you phrase it rather than me, the items you just identified as being included
Mhm.
are, what's the distinction between those and the other numbers in the capital budget?
I'm sorry, I don't
What's the
understand.
distinction between those and the other items in the capital improvement plan?
In the capital, if they're not budgeted, they're not budgeted.
Those, what you're saying is that those ones you just highlighted
Mhm.
are in the other numbers?
No, the reason they're highlighted is because I left them out of the first capital improvement plan.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no, I didn't
identifying.
mean highlight. I mean the ones you identified,
Mhm.
like the street paving and whatnot,
Mhm.
and the vehicles. I want to be clear as to how you distinguish those and the other items on this list, on the capital list.
Susan?
I don't think there's no real rhyme or reason. She picked a few things that we thought.
Right, Susan?
Well,
you
it's
want to-
actually all of, go ahead, Susan. Sorry.
Well, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going to use an example. The stormwater management plan equipment. You have yet to adopt that plan that'll be presented at the second meeting this month. So we would not include it as a budgeted item until you've adopted it as the plan to move forward. Living Shoreline was included because I already came to you to request to
Well, let me
apply
put
for,
it,
I'm sorry,
let me try
apply
and-
for the grant.
Did we know what the cost was going to be to us after the grant?
No, I was
So this is-
getting,
You can't
We-
say we've already approved, you know, we said go in for a grant, but $100,000 is now coming out of our pocket. Is that wrong?
That's wrong.
Okay,
We
so-
have budgeted, and it's not $100,000. What is it? It's 85, isn't it?
86.7.
86,
No, I'm sorry, 95.
95. At that, when we did that budget, I had yet to meet with Coastal Federation. I had yet to submit for the grant. Since finally submitted the grant this Monday, after getting information on projected item costs, as part of the grant application, you have to show that you are willing to commit to this project. So we had to show that it was budgeted, and then I had to put in the budget, in the application, pending per council decision.
But we've really not talked about what this was gonna cost the town and what it was gonna actually accomplish.
But we don't know if that's 95 is gonna cost.
We
us
don't
that much.
know that yet. You never know until you budget. I wanted to put an earmark in it. Does it mean it's gonna get spent? No. Does it mean you have to accept the grant? No. Does it mean you have to do the project? No.
Well, if I can, the $95,000 is not, but also the grant money or the income to support any portion of that is not included in here either.
No, because you don't know if you're gonna get the grant. Yes, you don't even
It's a
know,
placeholder.
you don't even know if you will get the grant at all. But
Correct.
it is a worthwhile
Can we mark it
project.
that way on these things? You know what happens is 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, something's in there. You know, we said, oh, we put it in as a placeholder. All of a sudden, it becomes something that was approved and is in there, and nobody's around to remember
Well,
what
it-
actually happened.
It's not necessary, because as of July 1st, the people will be notified you have 1 year to complete the project or you lose your money. It's that simple. And that's how the majority of these are, type of grants are 1 or 2 year projects.
You know the amount of the grant if we win it?
50% of cost.
So this will also cost us $50,000 if we get the grant.
It could, it could cost less. This is a
If it costs the
projection.
whole amount, maybe it's $200,000.
No, I don't think so. That's the reason I brought down the engineers who actually do this for a living from Coastal Federation, and they gave me a rough project estimate based on the linear feet of the area that we are willing
When
to
will you know about the
repair.
grant?
Not till the fall.
All right, now, Bonnie, go back to my original question that caused this consternation. The items that you didn't identify,
Yeah, we're gonna blame you.
yeah, the items that you didn't identify are, let me go back. The items you did identify are included in the budgets that we're considering.
Correct.
And that's the distinction between those two numbers, those two
Correct.
different kinds of numbers.
Yes.
Okay.
And the items I did identify would also then be on that non-recurring capital list. I just had an idea, maybe on Monday
It's a
would be a good idea, if I take this CIP, which is nothing but the purpose of a CIP, before it's adopted, is to give you an idea of what's out there, what possible ways the town could, spend money that it already has, in a lot of cases, to make improvements. So that it's a, if you will, a
I-
wish list. Yes. Yes,
I
thank you,
change
John.
your characterization a little bit, not just what's possibly out there. These are items that have been identified as
Correct. Well, exactly. Like
issues
the-
that we
well,
need
the-
to address, or should be addressed.
Yes.
Okay, so
How
it's-
you address them could change.
they're not
but-
just pie in the sky.
Oh,
pull
no,
'em
no,
out of
no,
the
no,
air.
no,
Okay.
not at all. So we don't want to give wish lists a bad name here, but these are things that need to be done. Whether they're done in this way is up for you to decide.
Right,
But these are
right.
potential
Bonnie, what if
uses.
you added all the things that are not budgeted right now?
And that's what I'm thinking. On Monday night, I'm going to take this list and add another column and say, in fiscal 18, these are budgeted, these are not, and it'll be very clear. That's,
would be extremely helpful.
I will do that, yes. Sorry, I didn't think of that earlier. Thank you, it's a good idea. Okay, I think that's it. So any further discussion about this, we'll suspend until Thursday.
Okay, now, Dustin's forgotten what he's going to say.
If you want to, we'll get started with, streets, with the budget on streets. You have any questions regarding that one?
Hang on.
Now, streets includes all the salaries and
Yes.
wages of your department.
Yes, it does.
Okay, there's half a dump truck, let's just,
Yeah, half the dump truck is.
where's the other half of it? In
Coming
the
out
Powell
of Powell
bill?
Yes,
Is where?
Powell bill.
Powell bill, and why do we
Because
need
it's
a
used
dump
on
truck?
streets.
Because the one that I've got is a 96 model. It's 20 years old. It's got, even though it's got a little over 57,000 miles on it,
How many?
57,000.
That's all?
Well,
But they're, I mean, they,
Yep.
they do double duty.
yes.
They do.
Carol, it's-
we-
It's not driving up to Wilmington for anything.
No,
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 I know
no.
that.
Yeah, there's no long-distance
I know,
miles
I
on
know.
any of our
No, no.
I
equipment.
know.
It's short,
This is,
which really is hard, very difficult on the equipment.
I understand that.
we've spent $6,600 on it in the past 3 years to keep it on the road.
How much?
$6,600.
It's not that much.
Uh,
For
does-
3 years.
Well, the braking system.
Every
on-
year or over a 3-year
Over a
period?
3-year period.
That's like 2,200 a year?
But the braking system on this truck is going obsolete. They're
It's
not
go-
making
It's already
obsolete.
obsolete.
Yes.
It cannot be repaired. Secondly, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to,
Okay.
is that the miles per gallon on this 20-year old vehicle is probably less than 10 miles per hour. I suspect a newer
Yeah.
model might be more efficient as far as gas usage.
But
does-
it's not going very far, so the gas usage is immaterial. If he's only gone 57,000 miles in 20 years, you know, the gas mileage is not important.
Dustin, just to follow up on a couple of things. One, it looks as though that you took out the sweeper, is that correct? The
Say again?
sweeper?
The sweeper, that's in the,
It's
I
in
mean-
there.
In the,
no,
or it's under the capital improvement?
yes. It's on the capital.
The street sweeper is part of the stormwater drainage plan, which you all have not adopted yet.
Yeah.
So it's not budgeted here, because you have not said to go
Just the
forward.
sweeper you have now is not efficient enough to do this?
Okay, and to follow up on Carol's concern, I don't know where it is on my sheet, I've got so many sheets. The Big Belly contract, the maintenance contract, is that what it is, the
That's
22,000
an
a
accommodation
year?
tax.
Is that,
It's accommodations
Tax.
tax. That's on page 7.
We're gonna get to it.
Yes.
oh, okay.
It's not on this page.
Where do the lights go?
The,
This was, they did have their own line item. I just put them in utilities. Streetlights. So so they didn't really go anywhere. They just, if you looked at old budgets,
I got it.
streetlights has its own line. And now it's part of the, all those numbers have been added into the utilities line.
So that's $100,000 just to do the streetlights?
Correct.
that is correct.
Have we looked into doing LED?
We don't have,
It's-
this is Brunswick,
Brunswick
no,
County
they're
will put
doing
them
it.
in for you.
They're
Yeah, but
as
do them
they-
as they burn out.
As they burn out.
At the heads burn out.
Otherwise, we have to buy all the
Yes.
fixtures if we do it.
Yes,
We say, no, we want this, and that's too expensive,
yes.
really prohibitively.
Unfortunately, it's not that expensive. You save $100,000. I'll show you something.
But it's just not.
You got a lot of streetlights in both.
It's not just the bulb, it's the actual head. Oh, okay, I just want to make sure.
And going back to the dump truck,
Although why they can't just replace the bulb is beyond me. But they
can,
say
it's
they
called-
can't.
It's called
Can't.
retrofitting.
I know, but they're not
touching
doing
the
that.
bulb or anything, you just put LED inside.
yeah, they had to change the whole head out. It's-
Oh, you don't.
That's what they say.
They tell you, but
They tell us that they have
they
to
don't need
change
to.
the whole head.
they don't.
Unfortunately.
Mark,
but-
I'd like to see you
That would be
get with
nice if they
Susan
could meet with.
and Dustin
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of
research
companies
this.
that do it, so I just, I'll
'Cause
show you the
otherwise
bulb.
it's, you know, otherwise we just get confused.
Are we, Susan, though, are we, and I encourage that, I don't want to discourage that, but do we have any control over it if these are all controlled by BMEC's policies?
Not unless you want to pay for it.
Okay.
We
so-
really don't. It's a co-op. Their board makes these type of policy decisions.
But if we make a decision that it's cheaper for us to override BMEC's policies, do it ourselves and pay for it, and it would be cheaper because we have a
It's their
savings down the
pole.
line,
It's their poll.
can we do it?
There's
Well-
their, I don't know if we can or not, but it's their poll. It's not our poll to do
Some companies allow you, like Sandy Cooper does not, but Duke does. I don't know their policy, we have to look into their policy.
Okay.
Every electric company is different. Horry County won't let you do it. The biggest one, Duke, will let you do it.
Any other questions on the streets?
The dump truck. Right now, I have had to pay plywood in the bed of this dump truck to keep it going because there's holes are starting to rust in the bed of it.
But to be clear, Dustin, half of the dump truck, the new dump truck, the $40,000 dump truck would be allocated towards
80,000.
stormwater management.
Is it an 80,000?
Well, 40,000 would
It's
be,
all
It's an
total 80.
$80,000
yeah,
dump truck.
okay.
Yes.
40 would go towards the Powell bill for street work that you do,
Yes.
we do. The other 40 would go towards the stormwater management plan that hasn't happened yet.
Storm, yeah, variety.
$40,000 truck, Powell pays $40,000, we pay $40,000.
Well, that's, yes, we're saying the same thing.
But it's not part of that stormwater drainage plan.
What is it?
The dump truck is not part of the stormwater drain.
Where is the other half of the dump truck then?
It's in Powellville.
Okay.
We have it in streets for normal streets work. And
Gotcha, thank you.
You see, I think we're forgetting something. It's still an expense. It doesn't matter where it comes from. It's still an expense. If it wasn't charged to the power bill, we would have more money in that account. That's
you're correct.
in the power bill account.
But,
So-
there's restrictions on what the Powell bill money can be
No,
spent for.
I
isn't it?
understand that, but I'm
Yes.
just saying,
Okay.
you know, it's like we say, this is charged to the accommodation tax. However,
Yeah. So,
it's
You're
still,
right.
it's still an expense, and if we did charge it to the accommodation tax,
don't we pay
we
something
would
for
have
street
more money
repaving?
back in the,
you're right,
General
absolutely
fund.
correct. Don't we pay for some street paving, not just out of Powell bill, but also in our budget?
The paving plan, when
There's,
we
we
hire.
have some expenses that we pay,
Oh.
part is Powell, if we didn't have the dump truck, more could be paid for street paving out of the Powell bill, and we wouldn't have to have it come out of our budget for something else. He's
But-
absolutely right.
Well, he is, but we have the work that the dump truck does, which
no,
doesn't go
I
away.
understand that, I
And that's
understand.
the,
But the bottom
this-
line, it's still an expense.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
salary, everything,
You
yes.
can't say it's only costing us $40,000. That's what's not true.
It's coming out of
No.
two budget sources.
Right.
Right,
One is the Powell bill budget, the other is our general fund.
yes.
Yeah.
We have
But
money,
understand, but the concept that he's trying to get at, and I think I know where he's going, is that the Powell bill does not cover all of the street expenses that we have. So whatever doesn't come out of the Powell bill comes out of our general fund. The Powell bill is only so big. It will not pay for everything we do every year.
right now, we have in the Powell bill fund balance, which means money that we have received and not spent for street paving and other items, we have $200,000 in the fund balance, and every year we get $145,000
Right,
more.
but every
So-
year we're repaving streets.
Exactly,
And
and-
every year we have various expenses. And I'm
Exactly.
saying the money we get from the Powell bill, the Powell bill money
Mhm.
does not cover all of our street maintenance expenses.
It does not. It does cover all the paving. It doesn't cover the repair of the streets. Patchwork, it doesn't, we're doing the
Well,
patchwork.
Bonnie, from what I understand, what you just said is
Mhm.
the
And none,
the town, over I don't know what period of time it was, has received Powell bill funds, and has allocated those against expenses that have, the expenses have resulted in a 200% plus balance in that. In other words, the expenses against the Powell bill have been 200,000 over, I don't know how long it's accumulated, but is $200,000 less than what the town's being reimbursed for.
correct.
In addition, we have an obligation to spend this money in a certain period of time.
No, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because we have new
So,
members here,
are
that
there
you just
any-
can't hold it, you have to spend it, or you risk
Could
losing
we
it in
say
the future.
80,000 comes out of the Powell bill for the truck? Can't we just have the truck, the Powell bill pay the whole truck?
Well, there's work that the dump truck will be doing that doesn't have anything to do with Powell bill. So
Like
Powell bill
hauling
is very
sand?
restrictive.
Hauling sand, hauling riprap,
Have we
clearing,
put everything in the Powell bill that we can legally put in the Powell bill fund?
As far as I know,
That's the
yes.
bottom line, I guess,
Yes.
that we're
Yes.
both trying to get to.
Yes, it
Everything
appears.
we could take out from Powell bill, we are currently taking out.
We are,
Whatever we're
when-
not taking out of Powell bill, we can't take out of the Powell bill.
Right.
and that may,
That's
and
that's
apparently that was
unfortunately
not the
answer.
case.
Okay,
Apparently that wasn't
We're
the
okay.
case in the past because we built up $200,000 that weren't spent through via the, we received
but
the
we could
money,
use
but
that
we
to
didn't spend
speed
them.
up some paving.
And this
Or
is-
if we decided not to do the dry crack thing and we did want to pave, that could come out of the Powell bill, right? Correct.
Excellent, yeah. Mhm.
Bonnie, can I ask you a question? You say we have $200,000 in the budget right now, right?
In the Powell bill.
Powell bill.
Mhm.
Does that include the $140,000 we're getting this year?
No, this is, I'm sorry, this is the Powell bill fund balance.
Balance,
So we go into this year, before we receive revenue, we've got $200,000.
And we're gonna get another additional 140,000.
145,
So the
correct.
Powell bill this year in 2018 is gonna be actually 340.
And then
Right,
what expenses are we taking, but we're taking a bunch
330,
out?
330, yeah.
Now, this,
That's, Powell bill's the next page.
this
You
gets
see it.
paid out in that 5-year street paving plan that you have. You calculate in the money you're gonna get every year when you project out what the costs are.
Yeah, I evaluate streets every year. I'll go out and look.
And we have a 5-year plan.
See, look at that pulling
Yeah,
out.
I'll evaluate, right now, we
Yeah.
basically called up,
More
something
than-
called up on our, now we're looking at doing the
Now
practice.
they're pulling out the whole
Along the
And
line.
at some point, there
But
will be
the
fund
point- the
balance.
point is,
No, you do
There's
that.
a plan
And then you have to
projected
pay for your
out
trucks
to
all.
use the Powell money to pave our streets over a period of time.
Yeah, in the CIP plan, in fiscal year 19 through fiscal year 22, there's $250,000 a year for street paving. And if that number is correct, around 140,000 of that would be used by the Power bill, which would leave at least $110,000 a year to be paid out of general funds.
You've got, the source of funding, you've got Powell bill here, 250, 275, 250, 250. But how much do we get in every year?
145,000.
So,
So that's actually, that's an error on my
I
part.
don't understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
and I'm seeing that now, and I apologize. I will fix that. Yeah. Very
Apologize.
good point, I do apologize.
So Bonnie, real quick, are we voting on Dustin's truck today, or is that gonna be Thursday?
It's whenever you all want to.
So
It's-
have-
We're
as a council,
discussing
didn't
it
we
today.
Decide we're gonna do all this on Thursday, or we're gonna?
We really didn't decide, but we ought to. My recommendation would be, it's up to you all, but my recommendation is that you do it as it comes up, because, well, no, maybe not.
Well, we
You
haven't
want to
done
see
that.
what the
Well,
total.
if you have any questions
We
about
could
it,
do
it
a
needs to be discussed
preliminary
as it comes
approval,
up,
but
not
we
to wait
can-
until the end.
how about just thinking of
Sure.
it as preliminary approval, but we'll go over all of those major.
Yeah,
things.
you really have to wait and see what the
On
ultimate
Thursday.
result
Yeah.
is before
Yes.
you.
Yeah, I agree with Carol.
Actually, sorry, I should have said this before. The justifications that you asked for all of the capital items, you'll have those Monday.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Including the
I
dump
didn't
truck.
want you to have to go home and do homework. I'm just saying for
No.
the future, it's very helpful
No,
to
for
have
this,
that
but
in
no,
the
no,
year.
I agree 100%. And they're
You
almost
have- you
ready.
have
The
to do
departments
that.
have done them. I just need to put them together, and you will have them on Monday night, so.
You see, one of the reasons for, at least I think so, normally when we had a budget retreat meeting, we knew what to expect. And we sort of didn't have one this year, so that's why we feel like, I feel like I'm behind, that's all.
We'll consider this a living shoreline.
Yeah.
Susan?
I'm sorry, we did have a planning session. Staff was given direction on how to proceed.
No, I
Um,
know, but
and-
it wasn't discussed in detail. We didn't discuss anything in detail or.
Rich, in
time
all-
to
in all
plan.
fairness, we didn't have the kinds of discussions you want, but the truth of the matter is, this detail, we would not have gotten until the budget thing, until May.
Okay,
So,
no,
but
it's just
but you're
the
right, we didn't
expectation,
have certain
yeah,
discussions we should have had.
yeah.
But
This
this you
list-
wouldn't have seen even then.
This list was based on a request to the town council on those items and those projects you wish to see in the next fiscal year. This is what we worked off of. Yes. I'm just We did do that planning session, that staff was given direction. We've come back with this document for you. We're going through it now preliminarily as far as
So
what
the-
staff
the
needs
detail
to
would not have been-
perform. No, we would not have had the detail because we hadn't been given
It's okay,
direction
I'm
yet.
just explaining it, it's
Just
fine.
trying to help.
It's fine.
I just-
Susan, you don't have to explain anything, we're done.
Because that's how I feel doesn't mean it's correct. So don't get defensive.
I'm not getting defensive, I'm just informing.
All right, next. Public buildings.
Public buildings.
Wait a minute.
All right,
Anything else
anybody
on
else have-
streets?
Yeah, anybody else have any other comments?
No, Bob.
Okay. All right, then, hearing none, public buildings.
All right, so this inspections, what is this, $10,000 to redo an office? Is that, were you talking about the desk and the,
That is back there in the inspections department where Russell is sitting at. There's no dividing wall, and also where the vault is at. There's no privacy, so if a contractor or somebody wanted to meet with them, they have no place to actually talk.
what about the other inspections office?
You got Harold across the hall where Randy Waters used to be at, and you got Carrie down the hall at the other end. So they were looking at doing a divider wall there to separate. So
That's
they have different
$10,000?
offices. Yes, that's doing putting up the wall, electrical and all, painting.
Electrical, lighting, painting.
Yes,
We did get a preliminary estimate.
What if they switched offices?
You still would have a very
You'd still
big
have-
room without two offices.
And
They're
plus-
finding it very difficult. You have two inspectors. One has an office, one does not. They cannot meet with the builders privately. I mean, the
Yeah.
contractors wish to meet privately in a room. This is something that they need in order to perform their job. That's what they're asking for.
Can someone explain why utilities have almost doubled since fiscal year 16?
Hold on a second.
Oh,
Hold that thought for a minute. Any other comments or questions of Dustin on the inspections office item of $10,000? None going. Go ahead, Rich.
Town hall painting, when was the last?
Wait,
I've got
Rich
the
Rich had a
resume.
question.
Utilities from fiscal year 16 to now have nearly almost doubled. Is that,
It's an anomaly. The buildings, all of the utilities and various things for certain departments used to be housed in that department.
oh, good, so it's
The Public Buildings
centralized now.
Department was created in
Okay.
order to
All right.
blend them. So it's yeah.
So you consolidated all the utility
I
costs into one
swear,
line.
we changed
Yes.
how these items are treated about every 4 to 5 years so that we can't go back and
Oh.
compare over any length of time.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
that's why a narrative is so important, so you don't have to go into the weeds like this.
And to your question, Carol, about when the last time town hall was painted was '05, when the building was remodeled.
That's the last time it was painted?
Yes,
And
that's the last
okay.
time.
And what about the
Parking lot.
the one thing I'm kind of questioning is, because I just don't see a problem out there, is why this year we have to repave.
Where the
Why what, Carol?
asphalt
The
back here,
repaving, restriping at 41,000,
the parking lot back here is deteriorating. It's starting to show alligator. So you have to repave it. You can't just coat it.
If you wait until it's really bad,
Yeah.
it's gonna cost twice as much to fix it.
Yes.
Because what happens is, right
That's
now,
just
it's
the
the,
back one I did.
right now, it's the asphalt
Back,
that's
front, the whole,
deteriorating.
all the way around.
As soon as the asphalt loses its structural integrity,
Yes.
then the subgrade is gonna start deteriorating.
I'm
and
no
then-
expert in this, I've
and
got to
then the next thing
rely
you're gonna
on.
have to do is rebuild the whole thing at twice or more the cost. It's a thing like your maintenance helps your long-term
I got
costs,
it.
keep your costs down.
And plus, thermal stripe in the parking lot also is in it.
Why would we stripe the parking lot knowing that we're gonna repave it?
Well, you repave it first, then you restripe it.
Yeah,
But they stripe
No,
it
but
that's
it's
the
just
front,
restriped,
that's
but
the
it's
front,
just-
he's talking about the back.
And the front.
But it's just, the
resurfacing
question
the
is,
whole
the
front.
question
Yeah,
was,
but you
it was
just
just restriped.
stripe the front.
No,
It was
resurfacing
just
the whole
restriped.
parking lot.
No, no,
You
no.
just restriped the front.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Susan,
yes.
Susan.
Yeah, we restriped the front because we couldn't even see the lines,
Oh.
especially with the handicap. areas.
Yes.
We did it by ourselves on a Saturday. It
I
wasn't
saw you,
outsourced.
yeah.
It wasn't an outsource, so it was, for us, it was a minimal expense to make
Gotcha.
sure.
Gotcha.
What is this Nature Works?
It's an additional,
What is it?
it's Nature Works is the contractor that does our
Does what?
landscaping, does our landscaping.
It does
The park.
streetscape, the town park, and the roundabout as far as flowers.
So has the price went up by 70?
Yeah, more work, yes, additional work, yes.
Okay.
Susan, I guess a housekeeping question for me. We're spending money on landscaping at the roundabout. Is that DOT property?
Yes, it is.
I'm sure we've already, is the deal that the DOT doesn't do landscaping?
Yep.
We assume.
Not only that, you have an agreement to do that
We
with the
do it.
DOT.
As a
Yes.
part of our roundabout
Yes.
negotiations where they helped,
Yes.
they paid for part of that
They
initially?
did the original landscaping, and they had a budget for that, which was honestly a lot more than we had thought that they would cover. So they did a pretty extensive landscaping, but the deal was anything beyond that and
Was
any
ours.
maintenance, and
Yes.
after that, we took over.
Okay.
So this ground maintenance that we have for $90,000, $91,000, that's the roundabout, the park, and all those other
Streetscape,
things?
approach to the bridge,
Yes.
town hall, yeah.
Streetscape, the whole kit and
Gazebo, parking
Gazebo.
lot.
gazebo.
So that increase, some of it is a one-time maintenance cost, like the repaving.
Gus, can I ask you a question? We take leaf and limb away from you, can we eliminate them and just let our people do this?
No, no, you cannot.
So- I have something I would strongly suggest, depending on who's here a year from now. Under facility maintenance and repair, you're increasing it by 96,000, you're explaining the increase. But hopefully, next year, that number would go back down.
Yes, so once you do the paving and stuff.
You have to be careful, that's the problem with only looking at a couple of years. Because, somebody next year could say, oh, we spent 150,000, we're only spending 150,000
No,
this
see,
year.
it's-
Because there were other things built in,
Well,
so you just have to be
Carol, you're
careful.
right, except, for example, $41,000 is paving here at the town hall. But even once that's done, paving at the fire station may come
Could
up.
be done.
Or paving at the, whatever, the
Gazebo.
gazebo
But
might
we
come
would
up. So
would
there
we
could be
necessarily
other
see
items.
it if it didn't go up? She's showing a justification for the increase, but what we're not seeing
Right.
is any justification for what's in the rest of that amount.
Wait, if I could try,
Facilities
if
would
I
be
could
on-
try and focus a little bit, is that we, on any one of these line items for the new budget, when we're looking at it, whether it's over or it's under, there's not, I don't think there's anybody up here that has a full and complete understanding
Right.
of that number, because there's so much that goes into it. And we have to, I think as a council, our responsibility is to properly have the person asking for the changes, justify the changes. And we have to rely somewhat on their experience and expertise in that process. Not that they shouldn't have to justify it, and they should have to justify it, but otherwise, we're gonna be here till it starts to snow. And, we have to give some credence to what these department heads are saying we need. We can question, do you really need it? But it's difficult, you can't take an isolated number and say, how can we justify that number?
Well-
I'm not sure I agree with you on that. We used to have a line item in here, of, an extra amount, a cushion built in. I assume that's still in here, but there's no separate item. There must be, each of your projected expenses, I'm sure have something in there to make sure that you're gonna cover everything in ground services and contract services, utilities. Public buildings is probably the wrong line item to be looking at.
They actually
that.
don't. One of the things, I don't know if you recall, one of the things that I did when I would put this together is I consolidated, we had a list of general ledger accounts this long, and I consolidated them into 20 category, like in operating, that operating section, 20
But it
categories.
makes it harder for us to know what's in there.
I understand. The reason I did that is because, actually, speaking to Pete's point, the department supplies, every department has a departmental supply line item. The supplies that are funded in that line item are unique to that department. So the chemicals that are part of the fire department in the departmental supplies, or even medical supplies, don't exist anywhere else. And, you know, speaking to what Mayor said, the department heads know intimately what these things cost, and we've got a historical record of what these things cost. And if we build in an inflation factor for the things that are subject to an inflationary pressure, then I've labeled it such. If I think it's safe to assume, or what the desire was, is that you assume that the things that are in these line items, like facility maintenance and repair for public buildings, is what it takes to maintain the buildings over a year's time, which is on a, you know, Dustin understands it intuitively, and what I've got to do is show you the things that don't happen every year and identify them, so that next year, because a parking lot somewhere is, fire department or wherever, is gonna need to be maintained, that will be the town hall paving will come out and the fire department one come in next year, and it'll net to zero, but you'll still have that information. Any big projects will be identified.
That's what I want to ensure.
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, one time, to the extent that it's one time for the parking lot that's labeled one time. We'll need to do it again in, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the useful life of a parking lot is. But because, speaking again to what the mayor said, this is what the department heads deal with on a day-to-day basis, and any extraordinary items, I guess, maybe is a better way to describe it.
I have, you know, I'm not objecting to the banners. I don't know who's selecting them, but I've always thought a lot of our banners make no sense in a coastal town. I see other communities and they've got things related to being in a coastal town, and we've got pictures of irises, or we have pictures of something. It's no relationship to Sunset Beach, you know, it's not the emblem, it's not a thing, it's not a shorebird, it's not. I've always thought that our banners should be more reflective of the coastal community. Just, that's all.
Just one quick thing on the banners. I talked to Susan, and the Old Bridge Society does pay for their own banners.
Yes.
We were given that background, yes.
Okay.
What was that, Mark?
The Old Bridge,
Yeah,
their banners, they're paid for by the Old Bridge.
yeah.
And
We don't-
hardware.
And the hardware. Okay, good.
One suggestion that I have maybe for the future, or at the end of the process, is that when each one of the department heads come in, they give a quick overview before we start asking questions of what's in there. And it'd be like, in the department supplies, this is the standard materials we use and no big change. Utilities, yeah, they've gone up $20,000, and the anomaly is because X. Field maintenance, we have a standard line of maintenance that does the facilities, of about $70,000, and we have new stuff that comes in to do this. That may help a little bit.
Would that be useful to have each department head do that briefly on Thursday?
I think we're past that point now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
We've
agree.
already
Okay,
discussed
but
these
it's a
things
great
in
idea.
detail. It's just a consideration.
All right, any other comments on the public buildings?
Not I, Bob.
Next item, sanitation.
Do you want to do
Well,
an
yeah.
overview, as John suggested, since this one's an easy one?
In sanitation, you see this, we budgeted for a non-emergency storm damage. Also the recycling.
Susan?
Susan?
Define what sanitation means
Oh.
first.
Okay.
You know it intimately, but they may not.
Sanitation is for the second pickup, for the island and the condo sections over here on the mainland. Also, it covers leaf and limb disposal, and also it does for the recycling, also for us,
Is
and
it-
also for the recycling that for the citizens that pay into the town, and the town reverses
But I
it back
thought
out.
that was a net zero on the recycling.
It is, but we
have
had
to
to show
show
it
it in
coming in and
revenue.
going out.
I got it.
line item in revenue.
Okay, so it's, but that's not gonna, recycling's not gonna cost an increase, or will it? That did go up.
It has a CPI increase every year.
Yeah, so does the, second pickup.
It's built into the contract.
So
Waste
where do you
industries.
have monies coming in for that line item?
And under revenue.
And
It's in there.
revenue would show what for the
It-
recycling?
It says recycling program, it's under sales
and
and
how much- what's the amount?
50,000.
50?
50.
So out of the budget of 176,000, 50,000 of that is covered.
Actually 45. We get an additional, we get a small administrative fee.
45,000 of the $176,000 we get back.
Mhm.
Because part of that is, I think you should show that, that's all, just a reminder to people.
Okay, I'll put a.
You're
I'll-
not
I'll add
actually
that line.
spending $176,000.
Dustin, I think you said that leaf and limb disposal
Yes.
was in this. If we contract out to someone else, third party, would they be responsible for disposal, or would that still be a line item in here? We
No.
would pay for disposal.
They would do, the contractor would dispose of it, it would cost them. But we would keep some in there for us in case we need to haul debris and stuff off.
You're talking about like our dumpster that we keep over at the Department of Public Works,
No,
that kind of thing?
That comes out of accommodation tax. The, say if we cut a tree or something down, we gotta dispose of it, so we have to take it to the field. So,
Okay,
it,
okay.
right now, we're budgeting around 16,000 for the, for leaf and limb per year. If we done away with it, we probably could knock it down to about 5.
Gotcha.
You can always have some type of disposal.
Always, yes,
It's like things washing up on the
yes,
shoreline,
always.
cutting the right of way.
What about our dumpster out here? What does that fall under? That's not accommodations tax, is it?
No, the
But the
dumpster
dumpster at the DPW is because you
is a
dump
30
the
yarder.
material from the beach into
Yes.
that.
Yes, the 30 yarder, the recycling dumpster, the 40 yarder that are sitting around back comes out of sanitation, out of here.
Based on my experience, there's a number of ways that there could be a savings, and I don't intend to address them here, on different ways to deal with some of these issues. I don't want to go into it because this is what we're operating with. And that's true not just with Dustin's departments, but a lot of other departments, is there are other ways that may result in a cost savings, but I just as a general editorial comment, I think, we can't spend time here with the ways to do that. That's for another time in another place. All right, any other on sanitation? Next item is environmental protection.
Can you explain what that is, please?
Environmental protection is also the bulkheads, also for the ponds that the town maintains.
Town-owned ponds.
Town-owned ponds.
say bulkhead, you're talking about the bulkhead at the town park?
No, the bulkheads that the town owns, and that's in the right of way, like in the fish streets, the ones that are between the easements at the house on Canal Drive. We have bulkheads on 16th, 17th, and 18th, and 19th Street. We got bulkheads.
Did you have some on
Even-
North
yeah.
Shore?
Yes,
So there are a lot of buckets in the
Yes,
island that the
there's a-
town
that we own.
owns.
Yes.
Why do we do the ponds? It blows my mind.
Ponds
These are
belong
not
to the town.
Twin Lake ponds. These are ponds
I know
that
back
we
here
own.
and all that.
Right, well, they're not really ponds.
They will
They're,
always-
they're your stormwater retention areas. They're part of your stormwater system.
So the POA in these developments don't contribute to that at all?
No, because it's our system. It's not theirs.
Stormwater detention ponds like in Seatrail that we do not own, that's a different story.
Yes.
Sea-Trail takes care of that.
Right,
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, but the water retention ponds are part of the permitted stormwater management systems. And the permittee would be responsible for maintenance of those, correct, Susan?
That's if it was permitted.
That's what I mean.
Yes,
So, like in Sea Trail, the only permits that exist in Sea Trail, there's 32 of them, are north of Calabash Creek. Everything south of there is not permitted. Because they were built before there was any requirement for permit.
Right, and these ponds behind here were part of the annexation when Seaside was brought into the town, and as part of that annexation, the town
Yeah.
assumed the maintenance of those ponds
Right.
as
So
part
the-
of the stormwater detention.
So there could be, I don't mean to just single out Sea Trail, but with other POAs, as Mark mentioned, there could be similar situations where those, the permit includes those stormwater retention ponds, and the permittee is responsible for those. These are ones
But
that
those
were
are all
not.
private, you know,
Right,
Sea Trail's
it
a
doesn't
private
include those.
thing.
It does, this number does not include maintenance on those.
No,
Dustin, pond number 2 that's highlighted here, is that on Shoreline East?
No, that's Station 2 out there. That's the Fire Station 2. We own
Gotcha.
the pond
Okay,
out there.
right, yeah.
So we have to maintain it.
Okay, right on Georgetown Road.
Yes.
Where's that
yes.
pond? Behind it?
They're right to the left of it.
Yeah, it's right off of the street.
Is
And
it?
it's a
Is it?
part of that development right there that
Yes.
when we built Station 2.
Okay.
And that was a required.
Yes.
What do we do? They just put, mosquito control and,
I mean, they mow, but also we treat it, we make sure the algae and stuff does not get in it, the grass, keep the grass and stuff out of it from choking.
And also, we have to
Yes.
maintain a certain level of elevation as far as
Depth.
water, because it'll fill in, we have to clear it out.
Yes.
Just as we should, and we will, do
Yes.
the other ponds that we have not been doing. One of the, it's part of the stormwater management.
Bonnie, harking back to what my question was originally when we were talking about the capital budget, the first line item for professional services of 95,000, where you said living shoreline $95,000, that's what you were trying to explain to me before about why it shows up as how it shows up on the capital budget,
Yes,
and it's in this budget,
correct.
same number, okay.
Actually, this would be a good time to point out that very large number under fiscal 17.
yeah, I circled that. What's,
That, Matthew, that's FEMA, that's the money
Okay,
that
the FEMA
was
reimbursement.
required to,
do we show anything on monies in for potential FEMA reimbursement?
yes, in fiscal 18.
Okay.
And this is the problem, because the expense occurs in one year and the revenue occurs in the next year, they don't blend.
All right, any other comments, questions on environmental protection?
What is the facility maintenance and repair? What facilities are we talking about under environmental protection?
This is, I need to think, I changed that word to infrastructure. The title for that line code is facility maintenance and repairs, and it would, like departmental supplies, it's the facilities and the infrastructure that goes along with environmental protection. So in this case,
The bulkheads would go in that.
so
Go back
year
to the-
16, you had a huge problem evidently. It was
Yes.
$101,000.
They may have taken on a project that would show up like
Yeah.
to the right of this budget, but you don't have that information.
An example would be the bulkhead at the town park, which we had full failure on,
Right.
and had to do an emergency repair. We also had, emergency riprap at the town park, after, I don't know what it was, but we lost about 20 feet of shoreline.
Yeah.
So those are the examples of what happened in that year.
Thank you.
All right, next item is mosquito control.
I know you had geared up, you had a whole lot of supplies for
Yes.
some time. You buy them like once every few years?
Yeah, we just,
Where are you in that cycle now?
well, I just bought a 30-gallon container, so we're good for this year on chemicals. But the briquettes, we buy them every year. But you also see in there where it says sprayer for $8,500. I need a new one. The one that I've got is about a 2001 model. It's a London Fogger. It is obsolete. They do not make parts for that sprayer no more. And right now, I've got the wire harness zip tied together to keep it going.
I think also I've seen it in the morning when I'm out going by, 5
Yes.
o'clock in the morning, and it doesn't seem to have much ability to control the direction of the spray as you're going by different features on the roadway. It's fixed and wired in one position.
It is.
And what you get is what you get.
Yes. The newer model will allow us to do a little bit more.
Any other comments on the sprayer or mosquito control? Just get rid of the mosquitoes. PAL bill fund.
This is where you see the other half of the dump truck is sitting at. Powell, we're looking at doing, several streets for, street resurfacing, but we also looking at doing a crack sealing program, where we would, rent the equipment and, my crew would, do it ourselves in-house to go out and do the crack sealing.
Let me ask I guess an overview question regarding Powellville. We've been given a list of streets that will be paved during the next fiscal year.
Yes.
By name. There's also other streets on there that are projected for subsequent years to be repaved.
Yes.
We had a conversation here about spending Powellville money, and I think it would, I'm surprised the question wasn't asked, well, why just don't we repave more streets now that we have an extra $200,000 in there? But I want to say maybe the answer is that they're not really ready to be paved yet, but they're projected over the next 1, 2, 3 years that they will in fact come to a point where they
Yes.
need to be repaired.
Yeah, because as you go, like I said, I evaluate them every year and look at them. You might have a section where you got some cracks and you got a section that's good. You don't want to repave the whole street just because you got one little section that is bad. So-
Susan?
Yeah, in addition to that, we always want to retain some money in the
Yes.
Powellville Fund because we could have a washout, we could have a failure, there's a lot of things that
Right.
could happen, so we do want to retain some money in the Powell Fund.
So are you implying then, Susan, maybe this $200,000 unspent monies is some portion of that's intentional?
Yes, I am.
That was a good question.
Other comments on the,
Well, that was a good answer because I hadn't thought of
Yes.
that. It's,
Well, that's why I liked
Yeah.
both of it. This colony easement, 72,000, what's the story with that?
The colony is, at Oyster Point, Oyster Bay.
Right.
We own a 20-foot easement down through there that, it needs to be, it's time to be repaved. That was
wasn't
dedicated
that
to the
being
towns.
turned over? There was something that went through council about 3 or 4 years ago
Not on this,
where
I don't
that
remember
road,
not on this.
no, there, what,
Where's this
what,
at in the
pe-
colony? At Pastor Turn?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you go into Colony, there's a 20-foot section.
you go into Oyster
easement that the
Oyster
town
Bay,
owns.
Oyster Point.
Does that make
When
any
it's in
sense?
there.
Why do we own a 20-foot easement?
That was
This doesn't,
done,
Well,
this
it-
is,
We
it-
were deeding
don't know.
that
Well, he may
20-foot
know.
easement over
I-
to, correct me where I'm wrong here. There was a big deal that council voted on to return that 20-foot easement back over to that POA
let me,
or to
let me
something.
explain.
I don't remember that
I-
at all. I remember
I'm
some
f-
stuff
I'm
in
familiar
Sea
with
Trail.
what you're talking
Not
On
in
some
about.
of the
Well,
islands
Sea
and
Trail.
things
The
like that.
mayor,
With what you-
knows.
With what you're talking about is, there's, on the entryway into the Oyster Point portion of Sea Trail, the road was constructed not where it was shown on the plat, on the file plat. So the actual road, the constructed road, is not on town property. And the town owns property where the road does not exist. And what Peter's talking about is, there was to be a swap of that land to correct what's on the ground.
Is that done?
Well, no, but the reason why is there was a dispute as to the existence of a water line that's owned, that was owned by the county, that we just got resolved with, I haven't been able to talk to Dustin about it, but I know from the homeowners association, the county said the line hasn't been used in 20 years, they've abandoned it, and it doesn't exist. So before the town could accept the swap, they had to resolve an easement or something or other for that line. Now we've got a definitive thing from the county that says, we don't care about that line.
Because it's
It doesn't
abandoned in
use it
place.
anymore." Right.
Does the road
well,
meet our
they've
standards?
changed their mind now.
Well, that may be, but that's where it was the last I knew about
All
it.
right. Does the road meet our standards?
It's our road. Which section?
You just said
It's,
the road
it
was
is,
constructed
it is a
not-
town road. It is a town road, but it's not constructed where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But that, don't.
No, okay.
You
So
look with-
the road, no, it's okay. The road meets our standards. We were supposed to have control over that. It is our road
You're talking about the colony.
in the colony.
The colony.
the colony's
we have
different.
a 20-foot easement that runs through there, around the circle.
For
It goes
what
back out.
purpose?
I can't answer that question.
I mean, why aren't we turning that over to them?
Well, we're gonna spend $72,000 to buy that?
No, pave it.
But it's not where the road is. This,
No, there's two different things here.
You have to go into Oyster Bay and you take
what
a
I was
right,
talking about
go
is
to the
different than
condo
what.
section.
Yeah.
You gotta go to the condo section, go past the intersection.
The
go past
mayor's answered my
the
question. We wanna know what the
Okay.
$72,000 is for.
Yeah, it's for the paving at the condo section, at the Colony. When you go into Oyster Bay, take your right on Oyster Bay. You go there where it says the Colony, that's where it starts, and go around the circle and comes back out to Oyster Bay.
how did we ever wind up owning
I-
a 20-foot easement? That doesn't make any sense at all. It's expensive
can't
for
answer
something that really, in a sense, has no benefit to the,
Well,
I don't know that question
It
can
was
This-
be
way
answered by
back then, I
Dustin.
can't answer that
I,
question.
I,
why
I,
aren't we
or
turning it
staff.
over to them?
I can tell you that that is one of a myriad of issues with the road system and who owns what roads and who's maintaining what roads. Because I've spent a lot of time and, with regard to the Sea Trail thing and, other POAs with regard to roads. If that's a public road, if we own it, they can't restrict who goes in there, and there's signs that says it's a private road.
Well, no, they cannot restrict it because we own the easement.
So we need to look into this. It's illogical.
Well,
It makes no sense in terms of what the town is doing or not doing, and who's getting the use of
I-
it, and who owns what.
I agree.
We need to
From-
look
from
into
a-
this.
From Dustin's perspective, he's got to maintain it.
Yeah.
But it should be addressed, I agree. And make a note, Dustin, because
I
we'll
will.
talk about that, and we can talk with the colony about that.
Okay.
To correct that situation.
I turn
But,
it over
but
to
right
them.
now, but right, you can't just turn it over to him.
Well-
But his,
We'll bring it up to town standards and turn it.
we'll address it, but from a fiscal standpoint, Dustin right now has to maintain it.
Yes.
And we have a deed. Yeah, 1992, we have a deed for an easement when it was granted
Okay.
over.
So what
Let-
about
let-
those
let's-
sides
let's-
that he's
let's-
talking about?
let's
It's just
res-
something we need to look into.
Let's resolve this in
Okay.
another
right.
forum. A question on the next line, potential dump truck issue. Does that mean that we will have a savings of $6,500 that's projected maintenance for the existing dump truck?
Just 1,000. The extra 1,000, all those explanations are for the increase or decrease.
Okay, so the other money is for other equipment.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
What is the potential dump truck issue? What does that mean?
The
That
old one?
you're gonna have a repair?
No.
If you approve the new dump truck, it may take, I think this is what we talked about, it may take
Maybe
$1,000, the gap between where the existing dump truck is and what it will need before the new one is purchased, if it's purchased.
All right.
So it's if there's any fudge factor, that's the one fudge factor.
We're not gonna get the new dump truck tomorrow, even if
No.
we approve it. So it's the old dump truck still has to keep running until we
Yes.
get the new one.
Yeah, it might take several months before we ever get it.
Okay, anything else on Powell bill?
No.
All right, the next one is accommodations tax. Is there anything that we need to discuss on this that we haven't already? We did discuss it with, when Kevin and Rich were here. We did talk about Lori did talk about the jet ski. Is there any other issue? Oh, yeah, the big belly questions. Carol raised the question about the big belly.
Yeah, is this software?
The software is for me to monitor them.
Is this necessary?
Yeah.
Since
yeah.
we're going around and
Let's-
dumping all the other
Tell us
cans
what it is
anyway.
first. Let's start with what it is.
It gives me where I can monitor them to see if they need to be dumped or not. If we don't need to dump them, I don't send the
How
guys
many
to
do
go
we have
do 'em.
now?
We got 22 of them. We got 11 trash and 11 recycles.
Now, when you say 22, how many of them are combined? How many total units do we have?
22. You got
Separate,
11.
separate,
Now you got
things.
some in the park. You got some in the streetscape.
no, some are recycling, some are trash.
You got 11 recycling. And trash.
But a lot of the recycling are attached to their double units.
No, they're separate. They're single units.
These garbage cans we have out there?
Yes,
Yes.
that's
They're
stand-
solar.
that
They're
stand
solar
side
powered.
by side.
Yes.
Are they 22 sets
No, there's
No,
22 total.
11 sets.
But you're right, a lot of them are what you and I talk about as a set, they're side by side.
22 units.
22 total units.
And how many of them are side by side?
They're all side by side.
So
You
it's
gotta
11 double units, in a sense, because they're right there together.
Yeah, you gotta, yeah.
If you're
Right.
gonna go empty recycling, you're also gonna probably empty the trash while you're out there.
No, we do not.
It goes in to different places.
It goes different places.
It's
Dustin,
different
Who maintains
routings.
the maintenance of those,
We
Melly?
do.
You do.
Yes,
What, obligation does the garbage company have?
none.
None. So once we purchase them,
They're ours.
they're ours.
They're ours.
It's all maintenance, upkeep.
Everything.
How much money do we get for the advertisement of on the,
We don't charge.
That's not advertising, that is for nonprofits to
Yeah,
show like the
no,
Turtle
no,
Patrol
Yeah.
or the Old Bridge.
well, why don't we start charging for advertisement so we can get some of that revenue back?
Can,
You don't wanna do that, you don't want
I'm-
ads on
Nonprofit.
things, it's one thing to help out the nonprofits.
The question
Boy,
that
would I
I'm,
not want ads showing up all over town.
the question that I'm trying to get an answer to is,
We're number one.
is this
and
an
number two
annual
business,
contract
except I
that
don't
we
wanna
have to
see that
pay of $20,000?
The
No.
20,000 is not for the Big Belly monitoring.
No, yeah,
It's,
like
it's part of
500.
that line item. There are a number of contract services in that line item. The Big Belly monitoring software is only 1,600,
And that's
What-
over the next
If-
3 years.
right?
If the unit deteriorates, we're not planning to buy more, are we?
That's a council.
well, that-
That'll be
You know,
our
there are
decision.
That'd be-
pros and cons, and God knows who on council will make that decision.
that's,
the
that,
next
well,
time
that's a
around.
policy decision. Rich, if your position is, and I'm
No,
not
no,
questioning it, but if
no.
your position is, why are we paying $1,600 annually for something that we're gonna eventually get rid of anyway?
5 years.
The
Or
reason,
maybe gotten rid of anyway?
It's
I
a
think that's
5-year
what he-
period.
that's what
It's
he's-
over a 5 year.
What I'm
Last one's
questioning
overdue 5
is
years.
whether or not we need to do that kind of monitoring, or whether as part of our normal going out and checking recycling containers, and there are others other than are the only recycling that we do Big Belly related?
Yes.
Okay, but trash, the trash part of it
Well, I monitor them too.
is different, but it may mean that if he really is relying on that software, it probably doesn't make any sense to take away software readings for the trash.
Dustin, you're talking $1,600 over
Carol,
3
you're
years,
talking-
correct?
Over 5 years. It's 5
5
years.
year.
Every
The
5 years.
$1,600 is over a 5-year period.
No,
no, no.
No, it's,
No.
each year.
Right.
Oh.
And the
There's
reason
you-
why it is showing up as an extraordinary item is it was part of the purchase price to have the software
Yeah.
paid for, was paid for in the purchase price.
So are we
Now we
obligated to-
have gotten to the point where it's our baby, we have to pick up the monitoring.
years.
And that 1,600 is just for
Yeah.
Yeah.
this year, the fiscal 18.
But are we obligated, are we obligated to pay for that monitoring?
If
Well,
want
if we
mon-
want
use
monitoring, I
their
understand that.
software, we use their software.
I understand that, but if we stop monitoring, if we stop that software today, we're not in violation of any agreement in the purchase of these things.
No.
Okay, that was my question.
No,
what's
and I
the,
do question the value of the monitoring.
I'm not saying
for a
we should, I'm
small-
just,
Yeah,
all right, can, we take about a 5-minute break for people to,
Only one more, come on. Tea time, 11:30, Bob. Tea time, 11:30.
Those pot bellies were a bad investment.
Do good.
Well, we have them, so let's fund them.
Yeah, that's the problem. Fixing bad mistakes.
Boy, that's $1,600. Yeah, has anybody went back to them and asked them if it was, we want you to monitor? We should use that kid Brian, the vice president of the company one time, he said you should negotiate with him. They were not cheap. They were 5,000. But I ask you just a dumb question, why can't he physically monitor them and walk through the park one day, or they're always in the park? You know, but
It's the island.
I know,
I mean,
only 22.
except who's gonna do it? Your guys
There's
are doing
another
it for
hat.
them?
There's your other hat.
No, I got too many hats.
You know, technically, it's only 11 because they're side by side.
Yeah, but still, I mean,
Just do it out there, just do it out there. Nothing wrong throwing it out there.
let me just tell you, trash. Trash is trash.
You know, the Potbelly things, the Big Belly things, we knew they had a useful life of 25 years. And and they weren't quite as expensive, and we replaced all the cans, and we were doing that right. There's the logic, it makes sense. What we don't know is what their, in fact, their useful life is gonna be. And they're so expensive. You know, that monitoring a few, to me, may not be worth it. And that's what I don't have a sense of.
And I don't,
I don't have that sense, something you may want to study, and say, why don't, is it worth it?
well, I think until we know that, because when we active that,
We could always add software later, right?
yeah, this is not a big thing. I mean, if they start falling apart, I'm like, pitch.
And, on the other hand, there are some advantages, they hold more because they crush them. You know, so you need fewer.
Soon, there's only one more left.
Depending on where they
You know?
Now you're regretting your decision.
That's funny. I know I would be. Actually, this has been very
I like
productive,
the way
I
they
think.
look, and,
This
and
has
I don't
been,
mind.
there's a lot of great suggestions.
Something to be said,
Look
because the
advertising.
monitoring is so expensive, that when we're weighing it, I can't
Really?
justify the price.
Good.
What?
Put your face on it.
Oh, great, so then we'll just break everybody's, we'll break all the mirrors in
Vote
the
for Carol.
surrounding areas.
Oh, my God.
No,
She's
thank you.
pulling,
No, thank you.
she's pulling.
Oh, you didn't like my, I love that ad, though. I was saying, what I don't want to see is,
Oh, yeah.
we're number one and number two business.
Oh, yeah.
And you could, if you saw, oh my gosh, could you imagine that all over our town? And
Did you ever
really
drive
never
down-
know what'll show up.
You know that guy does a dirty job. with
Do
TV.
you expect much,
Rolls,
Right,
Mike
right.
Rolls.
Do you ever see his commercial for, Franklin Plumbing?
No, actually.
It's on 17 going towards Wilmington. He's sitting outside on the toilet.
Oh, you're kidding?
No, I
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
Oh, my God. What's the matter with these people?
Did Rich go to the right designated area to smoke? Get him, Lisa.
Susan, if, this is something that honestly, you might want to yourself think about whether or not it really is making sense for us to spend that kind of money for the monitoring. And I'll trust your answer on that.
We're reconvened on the budget workshop. Is there any more questions or comments on the accommodation tax fund?
I've got one.
Now, is there any other besides, is there any others besides Bonnie?
We're
Go
almost
ahead.
done.
Go ahead.
No. I
What
just
if
want to
it's
point out that.
tourism funding outside?
Exactly my suggestion to say that tourism funding is, I was getting brainwaves from Carol, is 5,000 for the planetarium and 5,000 for the concert series, which is the exact same level that was funded in 17. So no changes in
Where is that? That's not in.
That's
It's
10,000.
tourism funding down
Okay,
towards the bottom.
Okay.
Tourism funding outside.
I just want to be known as council. I think we should take our $5,000 out of the concert series because of what they did last year with the people trying to do the petition for de-annexation. That's my opinion.
Mark,
But you heard what he
Consider
said.
adding money to it because it's one of the greatest things to attract people to Sunset Beach. Notwithstanding, that was an inappropriate activity, what they did and how they
Hang on.
handled it.
That's in
And
your
I'm
opinion.
kind of in the middle. I understand why they did what they did. probably it might have been handled slightly differently. I'm not sure, you know, I thought this was something that was benefiting the whole town. I don't know that I don't think it attracts tourists, but I think it is an amenity for the people who are here and living here and are either already tourists or who live here, and they love it. I mean, it is something that's very popular in the town. I don't like sitting out there in, 85-degree weather and mosquitoes floating around, but that's me. The thing is well-attended and people do like it.
Between 1 and 3,000 people almost every night. every
Well,
Wednesday
those-
night.
John,
numbers
I
are a
like the
little
concert, I like the
inflated.
concert series.
Yeah.
I don't think we should fund it. I think they should fund their own series. We're not in the business of funding people's businesses.
Well,
What-
what is?
Every
it- it's
town
a
around
non-
here does.
I think
It's-
it's a nonprofit.
It is a
It is a
nonprofit.
I
nonprofit.
think it's a nonprofit. It does a lot of marketing that attracts people to this town. People who come to this, they run into, this year, if you look at the schedule, there's what, 7 events? You know, they really were not able to raise funding, and so most of July and a good bit of August doesn't have concerts.
We may be wasting a lot of breath and whatnot, because this may not exist beyond this year,
You
this
know,
summer. Because I've had meetings, a meeting with the people that run the concert series, and unless somebody, they have severe funding issues. Not only that, the rental on the land has become prohibitive, which is why there's a reduction in the number of series this summer, and I don't know whether it's gonna continue beyond this summer.
So I have a suggestion.
No, well, hold on for a second.
Or I should say, they will continue beyond this summer.
I understand the land is donated by the POA people.
No, they're not.
No,
They
it's
pay,
not. They
they
pay
pay
for it.
rent on it,
Not anymore, Rich.
and their rent is doubled.
And they're
And how
charging
much is
quite
the
a lot
rent?
of money,
I don't know.
hundreds
I
of
can't tell you.
dollars a night.
You know,
It becomes quite expensive. You want to hear my suggestion before you?
no, I just want to listen, I just want you to all understand some of the problems. There is a reason why people aren't, the merchants are not supporting the event. And I have a little restaurant, and I belong to the Merchants Association. I don't get involved. If there's anything to do with the Merchants Association, I will voluntarily recuse myself. I'm just saying, from a practical point of view, there is a reason why funding is down. Many of the merchants has expressed it's nothing but a Fred Thorne Realty show. He has a booth, he's supposed to be a 501c, and he is promoting his business. The people across town who are in the Merchants Association are upset about that.
All right, if I can,
That's
whether,
all
all
I'm going to tell you. You can,
right, whether it's, whether,
whether it's real or unreal,
So I have a suggestion.
that's the perception. My view is if there's only half the concerts, I support Mark, you know. These are private entities, and they should be self-sufficient, and they should be looking for public money to support because citizens enjoy it. This is public money supporting a private event, okay? Philosophically, I have a problem with that. That's just how I am.
well,
Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter.
if I can address, just for a moment, Rich's philosophy. When I moved down here, questioned on what basis the town can use taxpayer money to support the, the coastal, the planetarium.
Planetarium.
And the coast, I'm trying to think of what the name of the organization is.
Planetarium?
Yeah, it's not just the planetarium, it's actually owned by the Coastal Museum Foundation. Because government I've been involved in before, we received legal advice, you cannot do that because it's taxpayer money. The explanation that I received was that the justification for it in the past has been that it relates to and fosters the public interest by bringing people in. Now, where I came from, my experience, didn't have that concept. It wasn't a tourism-related economy. But, I mean, that was the explanation, the justification. Now, I'm not taking a position as, right now, and I don't know that we should, as to whether we should continue to fund it. I think when we make the final decision, I think you're gonna have to make a decision as to whether to continue to fund it or not. But, I don't think now we need to beat that anymore, because we're gonna have this summarization on Thursday, and we'll say whether you're gonna include it in
It's something to
there or
think
not.
about.
I'm not, and,
All right.
and everybody's, and you're entitled to your opinion. I have no question, no problem about
So,
that.
so my
And we can,
suggestion.
Bob, we can rationalize both directions, you know that.
My suggestion is that I have also gotten the same information that they were not planning to continue this next year unless they found other people willing to do the work or take it over, and we don't know where that is at this point. We've already paid for this summer's, it was included in last year's budget. This would be for next summer, I believe, and not helping them pay for this current summer.
That's correct.
So,
Hold it, is that true? No. I mean, I think that's up until July
if that's wrong,
1st.
then then I don't have a recommendation.
Yeah, because generally, because they start in this fiscal year, but they carry over into the next fiscal year. So, I mean, they could be using it on both. I mean,
I think
But
the
if we-
monies
if
they
we
got
vote to
last
give-
year, they got for this coming,
If we vote to give them $5,000 this year, they would get that check on July 2nd,
yes, if they requested it.
if they requested it.
Mhm.
So I don't think we can look at it as if that this year's already been funded, because I'll bet it hasn't been.
Well, they have, my bet is that they haven't contracted for anybody to come as a band if they don't already have the money to pay for it.
I think they have
I-
already
And
funded
they've
this
expended the money that
summer.
they had for this summer.
I think
my
that's true. We
understanding.
can confirm that.
Uh,
If
I'd
that's
like to get a
true,
confirmation if we could on that.
if that's true, I would suggest that we not have a line item in here now. It's only $5,000. I strongly support the concert series. If it does continue and they get people willing to take it over and do the work, and that's the big issue right now, my understanding, I would encourage them to come back for council and make an adjustment anytime during the year. It's only $5,000. So if they proceed next year, we should encourage them to say.
We would have to have a caveat there that said that they
Come
don't
back
get the
to us.
check until January 1st then, or something like that. If
I
you
agree,
give them the
Peter.
check on on July 2nd, then
No, I'm saying not
Not to
do a check now. But if they do a concert series next year, please come back, we'll find $5,000. Easy to find in our budget.
And we'll address that during
And
the
then we can
during the year.
probably
I don't know that you
change-
can word it quite that way.
that we
but
can probably
it's-
change when we give them the check at that point too, so to make sure that we understand.
My question is, the information you have, is that coming from Fred Thorne and Wilson Sherrill, or coming from somebody else?
Yes, well, from two other people who've been working with them. But I think they're considering doing it again.
We don't know, Carol.
I don't know. All I'm saying is it's only $5,000. There's so much question about it. Take it out of the budget now. But if I want the concert series, if there's a concert series, yes, we should be. I think
Can-
as a town, it's an amenity for the people who live here. We should
Bo-
support
Bonnie
it.
and Susan, is there any problem with that approach that, I mean, if it's not included in the budget?
Not as far as I know, other than, good neighbor relations, that's that kind of thing.
And I want to keep
But no
that.
technical,
They haven't been a good neighbor to some of our,
well, I
residents.
meant that in a conceptual way.
There were two stories there. Who knows what's right or wrong? Let's put that away.
I was there.
It's over with. I'm just saying it's done with. Let's move
It's
on.
not done with. That was wrong what they did. You said very clearly, that represented and helped the town. That wasn't a political thing. It was simply
my
a
personal
petition
view-
to help the town not get
My-
de-annexed by this
My
senator.
personal view is that was something that everybody supported. It was not controversial, and it wouldn't have hurt to have a booth. They're saying for tax purposes.
We're unanimous
they
that it
could
wasn't
not do
handled
that.
properly. I think we're unanimous on
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, he said he could not do it because he was a 501c, but he's promoting his own business.
that's a different issue.
Different issue.
And I'm looking at the event, saying this is something that the people in our community truly enjoy and appreciate. And as a town, I think we should be supporting amenities.
But Carol, our
that
$5,000
most of the people-
shouldn't break or make their concert series.
Well, I think
They would like to see more, I'm sure.
funding it is an issue for another day. All we're saying is that 5,000 should not be included in this budget.
Just defer
Right,
it.
because it's just so.
Just
uncertain.
defer it.
On the planetarium, again, that's amenity, that's something that's unique to Sunset Beach. I view it as an amenity that the town should be supporting.
I support the planetarium for two reasons. And one main reason, and I've told Richard and Peter this, you know, when those kids come in from different townships and school systems, they can't all afford to get into that planetarium. And anything to help a kid see the future of space, I'm all for it. That is what we're here for, not to support the Fred Thorne show.
But
The
What is
planetarium,
I don't think that,
It's
we
a
don't
what?
need, we don't need to,
So we're
we
okay
don't
with the
need to
$5,000
discuss
for
the
the
planetarium unless
All right.
somebody wants to take that out.
No,
the
No.
planetarium
Okay,
has
we
actually
don't
asked
need to
for
discuss it
more
now.
Yes.
this year. They
L-
have the
Listen to
planet-
Bonnie.
Well, and I actually don't have it with me, but it's right in my office. The planetarium has asked for more. They have a special program that they actually have need more money for. If you would be willing to entertain increasing the amount to the planetarium, I can provide the details to you on Monday night.
But there's-
every year they always have something that they want.
There's another issue with the planetarium. The foundation only owns the property where the walls are located. They do not own any of the parking. And all those parking spaces belong to the development that's now increasing the rent to the concert series. And there's substantial opposition from that homeowners association or that property owners association to the planetarium continuing to use those parking spaces. So, and I have not discussed this with anybody, but specifically, but I know it's an issue, and I don't know if they're gonna be charging them rent for those parking spaces or what they're gonna do, because the planetarium has no control over any parking over there at all.
You know, how they established a business like that is beyond me,
Well,
seriously.
I can
I
tell
don't
you-
want to have to pay for bad business decisions.
I can tell you what happened is, Dennis donated that rectangle, and they built the building on the property lines. And there was no consideration for parking anyplace.
Susan?
Moving forward, I think we have, we have what we've been advised to do. We'd like to go to beach erosion.
Yes.
We're trying to keep you on
Yeah,
task.
but is there anything more on the accommodations tax?
No.
Well, the 3-4 ton pickup, I think we discussed that already.
Yeah,
didn't
that's
we?
not an extra pickup for you, that's a fire department pickup.
That,
No,
Kevin
I'm
talked
looking at
about
the
that.
vehicle under accommodations tax fund.
Kevin
already-
talked about that at,
We already talked about that one.
right.
Okay.
That's the one I wanted to switch trucks.
Information on England on Monday?
Do you want it?
Yes.
Yes. Mhm.
A beach erosion fund.
The Beach Erosion Fund is, helps support, the beach accesses out on the beach, maintaining them, building them, for all of that.
I don't understand we have a separate beach erosion fund. Is this the 2%?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's why. Now, we used to have what happened to the money that we had in another beach erosion fund? We were putting $10,000 a year in for years, and we had around $240,000 that had been saved up. Where is that line item? Did that get merged into this fund?
I'll have to research it.
There was a balance of like a couple of $100,000.
Do you know how long ago?
Up until just a couple of years ago, we were putting $10,000 a year in.
Yeah, it wasn't, I don't
Three.
think it was that much,
Okay.
Carol, but there was money in there.
And, I had assumed it would be merged into,
It may or may not
This.
have been, I don't know, but I'll find
For,
out.
for purposes of public, the 2%, Carol, you're referring to was the 2% of the accommodations tax,
Right.
correct?
For beach nourishment.
Yeah. I mean,
2% of a 6% accommodations tax.
right, the accommodations tax. That's just for public, and we knew what you was talking about, but somebody else might be listening.
my only concern is that I don't want to try and take every nickel out of beach erosion fund. For me, this is something the town should be adding to regularly,
Well, it's
including what we already had in there. And
Mhm.
I'm saying, how much money is coming in? Because you've got 400,000 coming out.
Yes, let me explain what this represents. Yes, it's anything that is not spent, or we have 400,000 coming in each year, roughly. roughly, 400,000 coming
For the
in.
2% part,
The 2% part, plus interest earned on that.
okay?
So we have and that was, so the recommended, if you look down at the bottom, the recommended total of $401,120, we're spent, what we don't spend is going into reserve. Directly above that, we're putting,
Into this reserve fund,
yes.
not
in-
the
it-
general
it-
reserve thing.
correct.
That's what we talked about that, and I said, you
It
can't move
can't.
this into the general. I understand. Well,
Yeah.
actually, there's some discussion about that. All of a sudden, we're complying with a statute that our town does not fall under, and I'm gonna be quite clear about that. We've had this discussion before on the accommodations tax and how it can be used, and most towns have to show it for,
Tourism, a
tourism-related
TBD.
activities, whatever. We don't have quite the same restrictions under the statute that we fall under, and only three
Correct.
towns are like us.
Correct, it was a
So-
distinct legislation
so-
regarding our town.
I know that Ron Watts pushed for years. He wanted all that money going for tourism-related things and a TDA and whatnot. And he said, no, you have to do it, but we don't have to do it. So just be careful that you don't think that we have to do what everybody else has to do. It's not
Except that
quite that.
our local act that governs Sunset Beach does have some restrictions, and we're complying with those restrictions.
and
We
we
don't
were-
have to have a
Right.
TDA.
And there was
Right.
some disagreement on how you define that, on how those restrictions should be defined, how broad they are.
Right,
But,
right.
but of this money, what worries me is that the beach erosion fund should be showing an increase
It is.
every year to a substantial amount of money. And someday, we're gonna need that beach erosion fund,
Can
and we
let-
should be
let-
prepared.
Let Bonnie explain what it is first, because I'm having trouble following everything you're talking about, because I
I'm
don't
sorry.
Okay.
what Bonnie's trying to tell us first.
All right, two things we know. We're going to be bringing in around $400,000 based on that 2%. We also know that we're going to need to.
Bonnie, can I ask an initial question?
Mhm.
Does beach erosion mean it has to be on our beach, or does it mean it's erosion and scour on our fish streets?
As far as I understand, it's specifically beach sand.
Okay?
Yeah.
I have a follow-up
Is that,
question
correct
then,
me
but
if I'm
it's
wrong,
into
but
the meat of
my
it.
understanding.
That's my understanding, but we
Yeah.
will confirm that on
Okay, Bonnie, go,
Okay.
continue.
So we know we're bringing in 400,000 plus interest. We know we have to spend 10,000 for bulkheads and other failures, and 100,000 to make the walkways ADA
they've got it.
compliant.
So,
We know that. So basically, we're bringing in 400,000, we're gonna spend
All right,
110,000.
I'm sorry, I did
Everything-
not see that reimburse line. I am so
Oh,
sorry.
that's okay. So we know we're gonna be putting potentially 290,000 roughly into the reserve, which currently has about 300,000.
Okay.
So at the end of fiscal 18, if nothing changes, we'll have $500,000 in the beach erosion reserve.
Thank
We
you.
can only use for beach erosion issues.
I did not see that description, and that's, I
So we
wouldn't have
can't use
asked.
that for walkways and stuff like, strictly sand, moving sand?
No, it's stuff getting to the sand,
Yeah.
walkways, yeah.
it's protecting the beach, the dunes.
So that big amount that we just contracted for, to rebuild the walkways, that your guys aren't doing, that we
Right.
contracted out, 200 and some odd thousand dollars.
243,000.
Can't that come out of this fund?
The,
this the last fiscal year.
The contract we just approved.
No, I understand completely.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that. 10 to 17 for last fiscal year. That's last fiscal year, not this coming.
Right, but
I understand what she's asking, I'm just looking at that.
Where did that come out? Which fund?
Let them,
I think it was under walkways, but.
Is there any reason it can't come out?
oh, we have, sorry, I'm completely spacing out. We have a fund called Walkway Fund. It's the Bike and Walkway Fund. We had money in there and add, anything related to the walkways is
Right.
coming out of that. You don't have the detail for that, but
But if it's a beach walkway, honestly, we should be taking it out of this fund.
we had it already. You set aside money already to do it.
Yeah.
Can we do a budget?
Why?
There's a good reason for that, because if,
I mean, I'm
we used to take that money that we got in, that $400,000, we used to just put it in the general fund, and we were using it for operating expenses.
And we don't do that, we understand.
We're not doing that, we're doing it in a separate fund that can only be used for beach renourishment. We've been fortunate, we have not needed to use it for beach renourishment.
And walkways.
But it can be done for the
Yeah,
access.
that's what we understand.
That's, so I'm saying, since it can be done, this fund could build up very quickly into millions of dollars.
Well, do you know why, I mean, this was fairly recent. I don't know where the money came from for the walkway fund. Does
Well, that
anybody?
was put in years ago.
Just general budget funds, you know, just
They put in so much
They were
each
putting
month,
in,
bike and.
The walk,
capital improvement plan.
Put, said money savings.
the walk,
Yeah, yeah.
the walk,
Okay, I don't know, we'll look
the,
into it.
Lori, the walkway
Bonnie.
fund is
Sorry.
just a, the walkway fund is, the walkway fund is funded by general revenue.
Right.
It was funded a long time ago.
But it
Yeah.
was funded by general
conceivably
revenue.
by general
Yes.
revenue,
Okay.
so we'll look
But
into,
if we can fund these things out of this fund so that we're not constantly keep building it up very quickly.
Bonnie, I guess the simple question is, if we have $400,000 in there, and the walkways are gonna cost, that we just recently approved, $242,000. Are we permitted to take $242,000 out of that balance?
that's what we will look into. And I will let you know on Monday.
would
I'll
be
make it
very
part of my
helpful.
department report on Monday. Okay?
And that frees up that money from the general.
All right, any other,
Susan?
I also want to, regarding this, the intent of this, and yes, we can expend out of it, but I also want to, it is a savings account for beach roads. Even though we're in a Creeding Beach, we lost a lot of dunes with Hurricane Matthew, and we pushed a lot of sand back, so that's where this would have been expended too. So I understand what you're saying, I just want to make you aware that this is something we're setting aside for a Cat 1 and
And
above.
I'm just saying, it's a balancing act,
I agree.
and what we don't want it is to build up too quickly.
Susan, am I correct in assuming that because Matthew fell under FEMA designation for as a disaster, that we were able to get the money where Dustin was dozing sand back up onto the steps of the walkway? We were able to get reimbursed for that, hopefully, through FEMA, and we didn't have to take it out of the beach erosion
Correct.
fund.
That was an emergency response, it wasn't a planned or budgeted item.
But if it hadn't been an emergency, we would have had to pay for it out of the beach fund.
Or the walkway fund,
Okay.
or the general fund.
all right.
Bonnie, can you
that-
also find out how much is in the walkway fund left? Okay.
Sure.
All right, that concludes our activities for today. Before we recess to Thursday, I want to establish what we're going to do Thursday, so Bonnie has a clear picture and we get all the information
And
we
honestly, I
need.
was hoping you would today, before Thursday, we don't have to make any decisions, just to go over these
Right.
other, the professional services, the capital improvement plan.
So for May 4th, we're going to review the entire budget. People are going to address the things that they think they have an issue with. Susan, you with me?
That's right.
Well, if you
Okay.
ask the questions,
All right.
I am, I have
Okay.
ears.
Okay. People can address the issues that they have, and we'll make determinations as to inclusion or non-inclusion. All of the department heads are going to be here on Thursday?
Yes, sir.
And is everybody satisfied with revenue numbers? Do we need a revenue presentation?
Well, I think what we're gonna need, Bob, at some point is a new P&L statement to see what the revenues are and what the expenses are.
Profit and loss,
In a simple
use it for our terminology. You mean funding,
You mean out,
Expenses versus revenues.
revenue versus
Expenses.
expenses?
Once
yeah.
we define what the expenses are.
Well,
I think the revenue we already know for the most part, don't we?
Well, you're going to have that out of, that'll come out of the May 4th meeting, because she's not going to know what you're going to want to delete.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
what I can give you on Monday night,
But we do have the revenue portion.
yeah.
The only caveat I have on the revenue portion is where I forget which house it is, just passed the legislation to reallocate sales tax.
They did pass it, what, Friday?
Well, it's at the House now.
It's in the House.
Oh, they
So
had to do it
did-
by-
It made the crossover.
They had to
Made
do
the
it by
crossover.
Thursday.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If the bill didn't pass one house on Thursday, it didn't meet the crossover date and it would have been dead for this session.
Right.
But now
But
it's
it did.
alive.
But the other house has to pass it, and what it amounts to is.
Isn't it like $50,000 or
Yeah,
more?
I have the
Yeah, and
specific.
there are a lot of the people in the, they're getting calls from the towns that, that they support or support them, and people are saying, hold on here, so.
It means
we
a
don't know what's
loss,
gonna
it means a loss to the county of,
happen.
No, it's a million and a half.
1,796,550. That includes schools, the Brunswick County schools would lose $530,000. The municipalities in Brunswick County would lose $864,000, and Sunset Beach would lose $58,806.
Okay. Thank you for that.
As a conservative tactic, can we have that as a sidebar, Bonnie? That
Mhm.
would say that you may not plan on getting that money?
Yes. Mhm.
Just as a matter of information, I've agreed to sign on a letter, as I did before, for mayors in opposition to the legislation. I did it earlier, but it didn't make any difference, but we're doing it again.
And along the same line, in predicting revenues, the fire fee is so up in the air that it is, you couldn't hit it with a dart if you had to. We've all got blindfolds on.
Nothing prevents us, 6 months down the road, from meeting again and readjusting things.
Absolutely.
And I did want to say one thing else about these budget meetings, just something I'm noticing, and, having sat through these things 7 times before, 8 times before. I really like having these, like, 3 or 4 half-day sessions, and I think we're going to probably wind up with 4, as opposed to these 2 all-day things where I swear to God, everybody got so burned out, not much happened in the afternoon that was worth listening to. So, just as a procedural thing,
So
I think this makes more
What,
sense.
what I would like to envision is on the 4th, that everybody become prepared with what they object to including from the proposed budgets. We'll debate that, and I want to have a result that Bonnie will have that says, okay, this is what the consensus of the council is going to be, and she can finalize the budget for the hearing on June 5th. That's a pretty much of a finalized thing, subject to public comment, consideration of public comment, so that we don't have to have more meetings. I want to be everybody in a position to say, yeah, this is what I object to, or this is
So-
what I agree with.
Because of that, and I agree with you 100%, it might be useful, however, before we leave today, to at least have a preliminary discussion over some of these items, so that you can think about it. The capital improvement thing is so many millions of dollars more than we've got anyway.
Right, it's, right, and it's, so it's
I mean,
just
we haven't even-
an attempt to let you know how much is out there at some point
I
needing
would
to
just,
be
I would
addressed.
suggest that we just start the conversation now. Take 30 minutes, rather than just go home. Let's start that conversation now, so we have something to think about when we meet again on Thursday.
You're talking about going down this double-sided list that
Just see
Bonnie's
where
already
people are,
created.
what people think, just, yeah.
You're talking about the
No, I'm
capital
talking about the
improvement.
capital improvement. And if there's anything on these other 2 pieces of paper that you want to talk
So
about.
much stuff.
All right,
Is there any, I would have a question on the professional and contract services. Is there any wiggle room in those things, or is it?
Well, these are all things that were part of last year, the fiscal 17 budget.
They're based on estimates from staff as to what they think it will cost, but an RFQ hasn't gone out, so they really don't know if it's $30,000 or
No,
not.
no, these are things that are part of the totals for fiscal
There's some
17
of these,
that have happened or are in the works to happen before the end of June.
this was last year, these
This was
professional
fiscal
services. Some of
17.
them we know we're not
I
going to have.
apologize, I'm on the wrong sheet.
No, we know we're not going to have lobbyists, for example.
I wouldn't say that. You don't know,
Well,
you don't know what the state legislature's gonna
let's
come up
hope
with.
that we don't have lobbyists.
Let's hope not.
Some things we have to have, like the chief of police recruitment, hopefully, you know.
Well, just look at professional services to start with, you know, I don't know what all these things are.
What they are, Rich asked for a list. We have, okay, in there, your total expenditures that we looked at on Monday, the very top sheet, there's a line item called professional services and one called contract services. That is the
Right.
summary of,
Of
it's all the
professional and
departments,
contract services.
so that it's
So that
a
you
little
know
bit
what
here, a
they
little bit
are.
there, a
And
little bit there.
that's what this is.
Yeah.
Yes, and so what that is the actual vendors that make up those totals.
Okay.
So this money we've already expended, or plan to expend, a projection through the end of the year.
So do you have any questions regarding professional services? I'll be more than happy to answer them. If you don't understand why we used them or,
So
We-
like county
Yeah.
governments, are we anticipating we're gonna need?
No.
we're not
That was
gonna need,
last year.
No.
I understand that,
Oh.
but we've got this, or is it, this stuff gonna be going forward?
No,
Or is it just summarizing what we've done?
it's summarizing what we've done already. Now, council, and the COG, we will have some expenses associated with it. I don't have planning and
it's
inspections in front of me.
7,500.
Yes.
But with that, a substantial amount of that was, they took responsibilities for what Hiram is now doing.
We didn't
So
have a
you can-
planning
this-
director,
this is-
so the money to fund that actually came out of the salaries line. So this basically reflects things that were necessary, thought to be necessary in order to maintain and operations.
Any
Um,
other questions? I mean, we're not asking for any action. This is an informational item only
Yeah.
based on Rich's request.
Just
Are
to-
there any other questions related to professional services? Because I can answer those.
The stormwater management plan, McGill Associates, is that not at that, I'm not asking about the number, but we're gonna continue to need them, right?
It depends on what, if we go forward with
That's what I mean.
phasing. We have in the CIP estimates, there is a line in the stormwater management plan that is for engineering. Whether or not it's them or someone else, I can't say, but well, we will have a need for engineering services during the stormwater implementation of the stormwater management plan.
You put that out to bid?
Well, we can. It depends on the limit and the amount. Any other questions on professional services?
Don't appear to be.
Okay. Contract services?
ATMC terminated after February, what does that
We
mean?
switched IT support companies.
Gotcha.
Did that go out to bid?
No, it didn't,
Why not?
because of the amount. It was under the amount required to
But
go
that
out
had nothing to
bid.
do with Channel 99 or anything
No.
like
No.
that?
No, not at all.
There's a replacement vendor though, right?
Yes, Integrity.
Okay.
And that's $6,000 for a year?
No,
Integrity's
no,
17,000.
Integrity, about the middle of that group.
Okay.
That's 17,000. We had copiers and printers already with Integrity, the support for and the supplies for copiers and printers, and we added the IT service. And the amounts are noted in each department, how the number, anyway, I don't know I don't have it right here.
Okay.
If you need to know, if you need to know the difference, I can provide it. I just don't have it. Sorry.
Susan, I noticed the contract cleaning numbers have considerably decreased.
Full wood cleaning service. These are
I
alphabetical.
mean, if I recall in previous budgets, there used to be like a $70,000 charge for cleaning, $60,000 when you add up all the cleaning. I'm talking about cleaning.
It's gone down a lot. I don't remember.
Well, the
I mean, it's-
full wood cleans,
I don't recall that number, Rich.
All right.
I would think
I don't remember what it is either.
Yeah, because it was,
imagine, I might as well have
There was, clean office was a line item in each budget.
it was a line item in each
and now it's in
budget.
public buildings.
And then when you added it all up, it was around 60 or
That's what I don't
70,000.
remember.
And it was just, in other words, this cleaning is for the restrooms on the beach and at the park.
No, it's cleaning here.
It's
you know,
cleaning
wiping off
here.
Your desk
Yeah.
area,
Cleaning here, just-
vacuuming.
Bonnie, just here or everything?
everything.
Yeah, she cleans town hall and,
Fire department?
The
and,
park,
no, fire department does their own
Yeah,
cleaning.
no, no.
Yeah.
it's-
town hall, the park, and the facilities at the rest.
At the
And beach.
gazebo.
So it does cover the
Gazebo bathrooms.
restrooms.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3,500 a year?
That number looks a little low. Let me check that.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Really good.
It-
I said the same thing.
More than once a year.
Bonnie,
Except
for
for my
con-
house.
Yes.
Bonnie, for contract services for things like uniforms for police, fire, DPW, is that in each? Is
No,
that- is there a line?
uniforms has its own line. So uniforms.
Uniforms within each department?
Correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
Nature work, ground maintenance, is that?
That is your landscapers that do the town park, the roundabout, streetscape, area around the gazebo,
Town hall,
town hall.
welcome signs.
Bonnie, I have a question.
And I have to say, I think they've been doing a pretty good job. You know, and I think
Yeah.
about some of the issues we had when your lovely guys were working on this, and those problems have gone away.
Well, it's a consistent
Every week.
application of maintenance and service, whereas they weren't available before. Our guys weren't available because of all the other work they were doing, and they had to prioritize.
Right. Mark had a question.
Question is on the roof of the firehouse.
I don't know that Dustin can answer
Don't
that.
we have any recourse in going back to the original builder?
Apparently not.
I don't,
Is that for
To be
fire
clear,
station?
Mark, are you
Is
talking
that
about station 1 or 2
I think-
or
That's what
both?
I'm asking. Is it for one or two?
They're
If
out of
this-
business
This is
for-
one.
2 is done,
And this is for
we
one.
hope. We hope 2 is done.
Last year, Kevin mentioned that it was gonna be around 25,000, and I don't think we put any money in the budget to it. And
What the consensus seems to be that it needs to be replaced,
You know, is
not
this-
repaired.
Is this $5,000 for a new roof? Have we had
No, it's
different-
500,000.
I mean, 500,000, this is for a new roof? I mean, have we had people look at it to ensure that we do need a new roof?
That's gonna be, we had people look at it, and we couldn't even get anyone to bid on it to get a quote.
So-
Because
So
it's a
much money.
significant amount of work. What we will do, once we get a number, a firmer number, and we'll, of course, come back to the council with that,
But Susan, I mean, a roof at a house is worth a 25-year warranty. A metal roof is even more. That building's not even 10 years old, is it? 5, so why don't we have a warranty on that roof?
it was.
It's a metal roof. It's at least got a warranty of 25 years.
Kevin can probably address this
Yeah,
very thoroughly on
Ask the fire
Thursday.
chief, because there's issues, there's convoluted issues that have to do with a improper design, have to do with a contractor that's now out of business. It is not an easy answer, and I don't have the background on the
Let's
details.
do what, let's close down fire station one and move.
Fire Chief Dempsey has the more of the details that go into that, because it's an issue that they've been struggling with, is the firehouse. The firehouse is more than, Firehouse 1 is more than 5 years old. It's like 10 years old,
Yeah, it was built in '05.
okay? So it's 12 years old.
Mhm.
And they've been fighting this issue for probably 7 or 8 years. Fire Station 2 is newer, but that was a repair and maintenance problem, which they hope has been fixed.
It goes back to Pete on that too, but why was it not under some type of warranty? 7, 8 years old. I mean, roof is,
I
Aaron.
can't give you that answer.
If,
I can't give you that
if-
answer. We'll look into it.
if-
But again,
I can tell you from,
I wasn't here, so I don't know. She wasn't here.
I can tell you
But
from
we'll look
dealing
into
with,
it.
dealing with buildings like that, or community centers and things like that, the warranty is only as good as the person behind it. If the builder doesn't exist anymore,
Right.
what's your recourse?
how about the supply company that supplied the metal? I mean,
Well,
he's
but
gonna
then you
go
get,
back to the builder,
then you
I
get
guess.
into was the metal
Yeah, but
properly
the metal
applied?
is a fascia. It's not a structural component. It's a,
Who installed it?
this is a
We
design
do want more
issue.
information on that. That's a huge ticket item.
I'll let the chief know.
This is a design, in fact, we've also trying to investigate putting solar panels on station number 1, but we couldn't put any load on there now because of the design questions.
Well, all I know about solar panels, it takes 20 years to get your money back out of it. I don't know if that's a good investment.
Oh, wait, I heard more than that. The problem is that they have a useful life of about 15 years.
Well,
By
that's
the
because,
time
that's
you
because
get the payback-
technology changes.
Well, I'm just saying, right now, by the time you get your payback, the roof is gone. The
Well-
panels are gone.
Well, all right, is there any other
I
issue
would
on the
jump to that.
capital improvement plan that anybody wants to raise now?
Rich,
I do,
Wait a minute, we're on the capital
Yeah, you've got it.
improvement plan?
It's,
you were questioning that.
That's his two-page sheet.
No. It's the one with the shaded area.
but she gave you a different one the last time we were here that has shaded
Yeah.
stuff
Is this
on
the
it.
sheet?
It's the
I,
sheet.
you know, Bonnie, I do have a question about, I guess I'll have to ask the
This is
chief,
updated
but,
one from
at
last
the
week-
Tahoe,
last week.
you know, I
Okay,
just
I don't
believe
have
it's 74,000 miles,
She
he has
handed
another
them
year or
out
two in that car.
last session.
I mean, it's just,
That's a Thursday.
If you didn't add it
I know.
to here, you wouldn't have it. But the blue is the changes between this one and the one you
All right.
had.
Bonnie,
Dustin, if
give
you
us
get
a
that
new
pickup
capital
truck, will you
improvement
fill in that
sheet
lot behind my
tonight.
house, please?
I'll-
Yeah, listen, I'm
yeah,
going
I'll
down
give
this
you a
list
new one
for
of
the-
those.
Hold on a second.
Would it be easier if I didn't highlight things and
No,
that? and
highlighting
ju-
is good.
It is good, so you can see the difference?
I can't find that.
Oh,
No.
okay. I mean, I gave it to him,
And there's nothing in where this comes from?
Monday. Yes, I can print you out one before you leave.
Read that, it's very good.
Well,
I mean, do you want, I mean, I can, before you leave, I can
What
go
if my
get
attorney
you one.
tells me this?
Can't-
All right, Bonnie,
Vincent, seriously.
Councilman Sharada has a couple questions. Go ahead.
No, just, I'm just reviewing the new one, because I didn't get the new one, Bonnie. It's okay, I'll get it afterwards. Now, what is the purpose of this exercise? Are we doing anything, I mean, are we preparing for Thursday? Or are we shaving now at this point? So I'm a little bit confused. You know, everything is there. I have some questions, for example, regarding a new truck for the chief. You know, I've got a dump truck here for 80,000, and I don't know if that includes the, I'm just reading this quickly. I don't know if that includes no, it doesn't include the street sweeper. The street sweeper is now $115,000.
Rich,
I mean,
if I
I'm
may.
confused.
you have,
That's for future.
that's, yes. When we have all the department heads here, do you want to go item by
Yeah,
item on the
s-
capital?
That's why I was trying to
Yeah.
define what the exercise was.
Thursday.
There
So
was one,
Thursday-
'cause there was-
Thursday-
We didn't plan on it.
Everybody is on the same page for Thursday. We're gonna go over the capital improvement plan. Everybody individually identify issues that they have with anything in the,
And we haven't yet.
Budget.
And we haven't yet discussed the salaries yet, Mr. Mayor.
Thursday, Rich.
well, well,
3%,
I-
yes.
the discussion on what it's going to be, the discussion on what it's gonna be shouldn't be done during the budget session. You obviously gotta fund it. If you only fund it at 3%, you're gonna give 5%, that's a problem. But if you fund it at a maximum that you think it could be, that doesn't mean that that's what they're going to get.
Correct.
Okay, so the issue for Thursday would be, what do we need to fund it at, not what we're gonna, not what the actual increase is going to be.
That's, he meant that. What you just said is exactly what he meant.
No, I think, well, I understood him to say that he was concerned that we have to talk about how much of an increase we're gonna give him. And that's not the issue for Thursday. The issue for Thursday is funding it.
No, of
Well-
course it's an issue for Thursday.
No, it isn't, Carol.
We haven't had any discussion of whether or not we agree to 3%.
But that doesn't mean if you put it in the budget that everybody's gonna, that it's gonna be 3%. You gotta,
We're
the
not
only,
talking about individuals, we're talking about whether or not we're gonna fund it at 3% or 2% or 4%. That's of course that's a Thursday issue.
we're gonna be here forever when you're talking about policy issues.
We're not talking about the individuals, we're just talking about an overall concept. It's not we're not gonna be here forever.
I mean, does that 3% include the 0.5%
I think we're
bonus?
talking apples and oranges. The what?
Does that 3% allocation include the 0.5% bonus?
No.
The bonus?
Actually, let me
I asked that the last
interject a
time.
new thought.
See, I'm
If
just-
you, on the total, well, two numbers. In fiscal 17, we budgeted 3.6 million for salaries. In fiscal 18, we're recommending 3.5%. So it's 100,000 less in this personnel budget.
3.5
Well,
million.
yeah.
Right, right. But, all right, 3.6 million in fiscal 17, 3.5 million in fiscal 18. It's 100,000 less than
Right, but
17,
it's
but it includes
a
up to a 3% raise for everybody. So it doesn't have anything to do with the amount that you,
I'm trying to compare apples with apples.
well, it's difficult to do because the,
1.5%, 1% merit, and 0.5% for bonus.
right.
Now, I'm just trying to get to a level playing field. What is the recommendation this year?
3%, up to 3%.
Well, that's different language, up to. Does that include the 0.5% bonus?
It does not, no,
So it's more than 3%.
no. It is strictly an up to a 3% merit increase.
There's been no discussion about a bonus for this year.
No.
Is it funded?
No, it doesn't exist in the recommendation. So the point is, the reason I'm bringing these two numbers up is last year, there was a lot of more money than was used in salaries. But there was a lot more money than the recommendation for fiscal 18. So what that says is there was too much money last year. Well, but nobody got raises. So it was a phantom. The budget for fiscal 17 included money that did not get paid to employees. It's a budget, it's a plan. The plan was not carried out. I don't know why there was so much more money, but it was, that money, that same kind of padding or whatever it is, does not exist in the recommended fiscal 18. What does exist is people's salary today plus a 3%, up to a 3% increase, which means that if the people making their salaries that they take home every single week today, real money, if they get a 3% increase because they had exceptional performance, then the budget that you're being asked to approve or change is a good budget. It means that people get paid for performance. They did not get paid for performance in fiscal 17, and we still have a bunch of money that didn't get used.
Are you telling me that if I'm a super performer, the cap is 3%?
Correct.
That's what you're telling me?
Yes, no more than 3%.
Well, no, that's not exactly true. The money appropriated provides for a maximum 3% increase for every single employee.
It is, in this budget, it is line by line. 3% on his salary, 3%
That's what I mean.
on
That's what I mean.
hers,
But
everybody.
That's what I mean.
But it's assumed that everybody is getting the maximum.
Yes, and which isn't going to happen, but it is because it's based on performance. Exceptional performance gets a 3% merit increase. That's what a merit increase is. The money exists in the recommendation to fund that. If everybody was mediocre, you know, and got a 0.5 cent raise.
So if we assume the worst case,
Mm-hmm,
from a taxpayer point of view,
mm-hmm.
everybody gets a 3%. back.
Best case or worst case?
I'm talking from a taxpayer point of view.
Right.
Everybody gets
Everybody's performing exceptionally and therefore earns their 3% merit increase.
performer,
Right.
everybody gets 3%,
Right.
and there's no bonus.
There's no bonus. People are paid for what they earn because they have provided a meritorious service.
Unless you feel that a bonus is a better way to do it.
The difference between this year and last year is we've done a pool before. We said 3%, that if you weren't a pool, some people got 5%, some people got nothing. This year, she's saying there's a maximum of 3%. But there's still a philosophical discussion of whether or not we want 3% or 2% or 4%.
But the
Exactly.
Discussion we have to have on Thursday.
But Carol, the bottom line is, if we come up with a 2% or 3%, it's not up to us to give the raises, that's up to Susan.
Of course it is.
Okay.
I'm just talking about the philosophical amount that is in that thing right now.
Right, and there's the department heads do the performance evaluations, they recommend to Susan that the employee achieved.
tweak than last year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Okay, that's
Right.
I'm trying to flush out.
There's a
Right, so what
ceiling
happened
on
last year-
Individual increase this year. We didn't have that.
right, right. Okay,
Is there anything else? Do we know what we're doing? From, we're gonna go over the capital improvement plan. We're gonna have all the department heads here, and everybody's gonna come with a list of the things that they have an issue with that's included in the individual budgets to resolve.
and conceivably a list of things you want to do that are not included. Because there's a little bit of money to play with, not play with, and I don't want to sound cavalier. There are things that need doing that are not budgeted. And so, was that a good take back? Okay.
Okay, now, everybody
Hit me if
understand?
I overspeak.
All right, does
No,
everybody
but there is-
understand for Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. Then we're gonna be in recess until Thursday, May 4th, at 9 o'clock.